Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural divine heirs. Today is October the 19th, 2023 on the ancient moon calendar, 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and in alignment with the ancient Noahide laws according to this holy Congress. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3. Moorish American Al Moroccan, Universal Court Action. We are the sovereign living justices. And Ego Sum, Pauline Denise Ritchie, my free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are compete at corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous sovereign ancient Al-Moroccan Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Israelites, Hamathites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We're the ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the ancient Washington District for Colombia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural divine, sovereign ancient Article 3, living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, titled beneficiaries, and the title trustors for all causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation. We are one state. We are one empire, and we are one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We do hereby possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the one true living God nation, are not at war. And we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time. Nunc pro tunc. Islam. The principles that we share are not our opinion. Yes, indeed. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these laws and processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land, long established in sovereign order, erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate. Every day is what our ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments. And for this, we are grateful. I'm going to try not to cry through this. You have to excuse me. I'm really excited for us, and I'm just grateful that we can see. I'm very grateful that we can see because there was so much that we didn't see, and we can see it now. And so many of us can see now. That's the part that I'm excited about the most. So with that being stated, just a moment, let me see if I can get this. Just a moment. There it is. Okay. With that being stated, we're not going to be before you long today. But first and foremost,
Let us make it known.
that we have a leader. We do have a leader. Some people say, who's the leader of the Moors? We have a leader. And that leader is each and every one of us. So if anyone asks you, who's the leader of the Moors? Tell them that you, along with every other Moor at earth, is the leader of the Moors. And say it boldly. Boldly. With that being stated, I want to give you a brief update on the gold and silver for work and the federal driver license program. It is a complete success. When we first started the program, we stated that we were going to give you an update because we were kind of piloting the program. And as we were piloting the program, and piloting is a term that we used in the corporate arena when we were introducing a new program, but we wanted to try it first, work out anything that needed to be worked out, and then introduce it nationwide. I believe I mentioned this before. Many of us, all of us, are bringing the experiences that we had in the corporate arena to our nation. That's why we even went that way. It's so that we could learn some things and then bring it back and use it for our nation. And so when I was the national analyst at Hyundai Motor America, Fountain Valley, California territory, we would introduce training programs. And whenever, let's say, if I thought of a program or we had some type of an outline of a program, we would do the program first there, and then we would introduce it to all of the dealerships. At that time, Hyundai enacted about 700 dealerships, about 650, 700 dealerships nationwide. And so we would put the program together and do the program, and then say, okay, these are the things we can make better, and let's introduce these things. So that's what we did with the gold and silver and the federal driver license program. The federal driver license program is the template for everything else that we do in terms of notarial, public notary duties, legal services, quote unquote, at our territories, all of us. It's been a complete success. We didn't have any issues getting anything done. We didn't have any issues acquiring any of the products and things that we got, which we were using bank credits for that from the last era. And so, as previously stated, gold and silver legal services is another road to our manifested prosperity. We can bond ourselves and bond our work, and our work is not taxed. So I stated that I was going to take the time to show the documentation that we used, the documentation that we sent to those who ordered driver licenses, and any issues that came up, we were going to show those as well, so that you could see how to deal with them if you have those issues come up at your territory. This coming Sunday, we will lay that whole program out so that you can do it too at your territories, and then we'll share with you all of the everything that was going on with that. And then we'll show you like the latest correspondence that we've gotten from other nations that want to take advantage of what we're doing. Everyone was waiting on us. Just know that. So the keys to success with this whole federal driver license program, that anyone who gets the driver's license, anyone, it doesn't matter what their nationality or citizenship status or status is, it doesn't matter. Anyone who gets the federal, who takes advantage of the federal driver's license program can always, like Empress Aisha stated the other day, they can always plead the fifth on anything coming out, anything that was attempting to take advantage of them or to reclaim them. They can plead, and it's not even pleading the fifth, it's a command. The fifth is not a plea, it's a command. And our powerful Empress Aisha brought that forth, and just, it made complete sense with everything that we're doing. So anyone who places that on the public record, just know that you can actually use the Constitution to assist you. Actually, you can use the Constitution to assist you in anything that's happening, because you're not answering to a capital from anyone who's not the law. Islam. Just a moment. Let me see if I can. There it is. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, let me just open the meeting and so that you can unmute yourselves and speak regarding this program.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Oh my goodness, the energy is immense. My goodness. And if I may, concerning the Torrens law, because it's been impressing, like it has to be like put out there at New York. And Daniel, because he's an immense researcher, right? He had to reach for himself. So he came and found something I didn't find when I did my research. So it states, Automated City Register Information System. They renamed it. And it says, notice.
Where's your free conveyance, Angel Bay? We're still waiting on that.
The Department of Finance assumes no liability for failure to provide the requested notice of recorded documents with the respect to property for which you are requesting to receive notification. The City of New York, including the Department of Finance and the Richmond County Clerk, assumes no liability for fulfilling their legal duty to record documents, even if those documents are in some instances later determined to be erroneous, fraudulent, or invalid. And they have that stated underneath black lettering. That was stated, that which I just read was in red.
You said you were getting your free conveyance way back in March.
Empress, I can't hear you, Empress Light. Empress Light, I guess you're muted or something. I still can't hear you.
I was saying, wow, wow, wow.
Islam. And hold on, one more thing.
Yeah.
This was done in 2000.
Yes, everything was already, all we had to do was speak it and it would reveal, it would manifest.
2000 is when that was stated, but they didn't have it out as permanent, and it's, the whole website is blue.
Yes, yes.
The whole website is blue, everything is blue, and it says, as of January 1st, 2000, the New York State Legislature has abolished the Land Title Registration Law, also known as Torrens. Please refer to the county clerk's recording page information. So
let me tell you what else is going to happen. Empress.
yes.
Just a moment. Apologies for that. After a while, you're going to be able to edit the websites that are out, like the county websites and stuff. After a while, you're going to be able to edit them and put the information in there.
Mhm.
Watch what I'm telling you. Watch. The ancestors gave me a taste of that not too long ago. After a while. Now, again, it won't be overnight, but it's going to be soon, where all the websites are going to be where we can edit them.
I'm affirming that part because like 2000 and they enacted the removal unlawfully of so many Moors who've had their paperwork on the record. And so when you said it ain't over, it ain't over. It's not over till we say it's over, and it's never going to be over because we keep speaking.
Yeah. Well, Empress, Moors have been speaking the whole time, and this is really important. Moors have been speaking the whole time, but we needed to come together.
Yes.
Because one individual sovereign Moor is very powerful, is all powerful. But us coming together is what this was all about.
Yes.
And so now that we have just continued through all governing.
Right? Because it says they assume no. And you remember, you had found that Richmond County, whatchamacallit, what was it? It was a notice, or it was a article. It was an article that they were having issues with their system there.
Yeah, remember the whole thing fell. The whole thing fell through. The whole thing
Richmond
fell
County,
through.
And they say that on here. The Department of Finance and Richmond County clerk assumes no liability for fulfilling their legal duty to record documents, even if the documents in some instances later determined to be erroneous, fraudulent, or invalid.
Yes.
Because all of their paperwork has been erroneous. And fraudulent. They use the word fraudulent.
We have our job. We have to stay. And we've done it. Someone has to do it. It might as well be us.
We are. We are.
Yeah. Islam nobility.
Speaking of updates with things that surprised me, but not really surprised me, I just so happened to click on to the Washington District of Columbia Tax Recorder's Office website. And interestingly, it says as of just recently, they're going to be down for construction until January 2024. So you can't do nothing on their website at all. You can't send nothing. You can't send. They're done. And I don't think, they say it's for construction, but the reality is all the stuff that we've been sending and, to the email, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're down.
It's reconstruction.
No, they're down for construction because the construction is they're being instructed to go out of there, and it ain't a con no more. Islam.
Thank you for that, for pointing that out as well, Noble Phoenix. They're kind of telling the truth when they say down for construction. It's against that fraud. It's against that fraud because con means against the structure, and they have been. See, this is why we were stating what we stated about filing things with them, because everyone who filed things with them and paid them the fiat, their records are going out the window. They're going away. But because we put them on notice, we have copies of everything. And listen, if you don't have copies of the stuff, don't worry. You're still in air. Don't worry. Just restructure it. And it's still valid. Because remember, it's not pro-tunc for us. Everything is not pro-tunc for us. It's now for then. So that is why it was important to not put anything on their record and then and point to that as the law. Yes, put something on the record. I'm so glad you brought that up. Put something, for those who did do that. Let me tell you, because when I first woke up, I did that too. Like I went back in 2017, and I'll just show it to you since we're here, so that you all know not that everything you said was the law. Period. And that which starts in truth stays in truth. If you started it and you constructed it, then it's going to stay in truth when you claim it properly. Okay, let me show you an example of that really quickly. In 2017, and remember, when you look at these things, Morris, and this is also still in alignment with what we're talking about here on the screen about assisting other people, because there's going to be things that they see online that says, oh, there's a war rant, or there's this, or there's that out there for them. Well, they'll give you a silver coin or a gold coin or something of that nature, and when they give that to you, they can plead the fifth, because all of their documentation, this is what happens. Let me just show you. In 2017, when I first found out that I was who we all are, I started listening to Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey talking about all of the amazing things that he talks about. He talks about SETA QV and all of that, SETA KV Trust, and he was talking about all these things and all of that. So I thought, okay, since we're the heirs to everything, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to tell them that the living heirs we're alive, because SETA QV Trust says that when the living man pronounces that they're alive, then the title is revested back in, right? Well, our ancestors, I love them because they give us grace when we do things. That's why I say don't worry about any of the things you've done. It's all good. I went down and I went to King County Superior Court, which is our office. We know that. And when I went there at King County Superior Court, and this is something that's a little different with some territories. When you go to to King County Superior Court, and you all you have to do in order to get something started, you don't have to have an attorney, you don't have to have any of that stuff. All you have to do to get a case started is go down, pull their document, and it's just a form, and that form, they have computers there where you can type into the computer what you want to go on the form, and then you put it in the basket and you stamp it, and then they stamp it, and then you've gotten a case started. Okay? So I went down there and I was like, well, I know that I'm a living heir too, so I'm gonna go and state that title is vested in us because I'm the heir. I filled out the document. Now this that you're seeing on the screen is the document restated, because of course we had to go back and restate that thing. It started with us, but we had to go back and restate it. They had stamped it up here at the top, so we took their stamp off and put our stamp here, because we're actually the Superior Court clerk. And their stamps all had abbreviations in them. Instead of it saying Washington, it said WA. Instead of it saying court clerk, it said CT. CL or some craziness like that. instead of saying October, it had OCT, which is not a month. Okay, so everything that they said and did was just incompetent. So I went back and I restated it and put my free national appellation, which at the time I did it as Light Tajiri Bay. But let me tell you what else I did, Morris. I said assist court, and this is recently that I restated this. I just restated this in the last week. Okay. Assist court statement on the public record by Chief Justice Pauline Denise Ritchie. And again, we're all Chief Justices. And so the assist court is the court that issues a ruling, and then we say, okay, when we're assisting people, the assist court, and we look this up in Black's Law Dictionary, you can look up assist, ASSISE. The assist court issues a ruling on the matter, and then all the person has to do is state the Fifth Amendment. And when they state the Fifth Amendment, that's an automatic removal, because the real court is standing by, and that's that other term we talked about, is standing by to assist them as they so declare. But they have to declare. Yes, stand on the Fifth Amendment, Empress Chris, yes. And so we can issue a ruling, and then when they say that they state the Fifth, okay, so then as a court, I see in the chat some are saying that someone got evicted in this territory or that territory. Okay, you can stand by, you can issue a ruling from our Article 3 court, and that is an assist court ruling that you notify the inferiors about. And then when you do that, and this is when they give you their silver or their gold coin or whatever, because there has to be some consideration for what is being done. There must be some consideration. Or if you want to take coffee beans, you can take coffee beans, or you can take more sovereign delarium, whichever you prefer. Right now, we think that any of those are viable and valid. We see, though, where gold and silver is starting to circulate heavily, and we'll tell you about that in just a moment. But what I did was I just took all of the language from my name change and judicial proclamation that I got from RV Bay Publications, because I was determined that I was going to demonstrate my status, okay? And we send our highest honors to Empress Ras Mariah and Empress Anna Eid L and Empress Zalil L. We love you all with all of our hearts, because you gave us the start that we needed to continue the movement for us. We honor you with all our hearts. And so I took the language from that and just copied and pasted it right on into the document. As you can see here, our court action language, I put this in this last week. And I'm going to send it back out to them, because even with the case number here, if you'll notice, the case number is 1010-5905-0001. They even have it so that you can assign your own case number. So, I just went down there and did it in 2000. This was in October of 2017 is when I did this. And let me just tell you, Morris, that once I did that, you talk about tests coming hard and heavy, and not even 2 months later, I was doing my first POW demonstration. And for some, that's not funny, but to me, when I look back on what our ancestors were doing, they knew what they were doing the whole time. So, yes. So I just restated what I gave, what started with me initially. I restated it because here's what's happening. In this cause for action, I was bringing a court action to state, okay, who's the real trustees of the Sesta QV Trust? Who are the real trustees? Because we know we're the heirs. Okay, well, of course, once I put that in there, no one answered, no one showed up. The testing just started for me.
You are so fucking full of shit. So fucking full of shit, Pauline. None of this shit works, you dumb bitch.
Where are we?
Nothing works. Poor Rayvana's gone, girl. What's the problem? Where's your IT department, Pauline? Where's your IT department? Shouldn't the gods have a big IT department? The government should have their own IT department. What's the problem, Pauline?
Rayvana.
Where's little Ravenetta?
Wait a minute. She hasn't been feeling well. She might have fallen asleep. Rayvana, are you there? Are you able to boot them out? Okay, because he was just running his mouth. If you could just boot him out. Huh?
Poor little Raisinetta. Poor little.
Huh? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. He's there. He was there. I booted him out. But make sure you.
She done fell asleep at the switch, Dad.
Okay. So we're getting it together here. Our IT department is awake. She wasn't asleep. Okay. So on her computer, she said she couldn't see him where he was at, on her computer. So anyway, that's no big deal for us. So as I was, my case was who are the real trustees for the Sesta QV Trust from 1666? Who are they? And of course, no one came forward. But I will tell you this: when I first put that thing in the basket,
so that was a failure on Raisanetta's part. Failure on Raisanetta's part.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, she got it. Okay, so when I first put it in the basket, someone came from the back as if they were expecting it. I don't know, and pulled it from the basket. And there were other
IT department don't work, girl. Your IT department don't work.
There were other cases in the basket, but they pulled only the one that I put in there in the basket and took it to the back. And I was like, well, are they going to bring it back? What's happening? I didn't see them. They didn't bring it back. They just took it to the back, and that was it. So I knew that something that an energy had shifted, that something had changed, because they never brought it back and they weren't going to bring it back. So and then my testing.
Ain't got no IT department, girl. What's the problem, Paul?
And so the testing started, and so now again, as we're let me make this relevant to what we're doing right now. What I did, and we can do this with everything out there, is we can restate everything that they put online, on the record. All of that stuff can be restated by us. And then we can issue the assist ruling. And the number, the cause or case number will be the same. It'll be the same. And so all I did was take the information from my name change and judicial proclamation and put it on here. And then I remember Empress Rosmariah saying that every affidavit must have 3 parts. It has to have a statement of identity, identifying the parties, and it has to have a cause for action, and then it has to have a remedy, command for immediate remedy. Okay, So those are the three parts of every affidavit that you put out should have those three parts. Now, the remedy part, we're the court, we're the remedy. Our rulings are the remedy. So we've already met and exceeded that particular standard. But I just copied and pasted all the information from my name change and judicial proclamation, and I put it on the thing, and then I signed it in red. At the time I signed it. This was the signature that I put on here, Light Tajiri Bay, in red ink at the time. And then afterwards, I went back and did all of this. You know, during as I began to restate it, I put our seals and, you know, all of that on here. So what I'm stating here on this particular cause for action, I'm coming back now and stating that we are the trustors for the Sesta v. Trust 1666. The trustors are the ones who write the trust. So we have restated the Sesta v. Trust of 1666, and we did a video on that a while back. You can go to Light Tajiri Bay channel and look at the videos. There's a video specifically stating the title is Sesta v. Trust. I forget what the whole title is, but it does mention Sesta v. Trust of 1666 in the title. We restated it, and now we've issued it so that it actually does what it's supposed to do for the people. So as we're assisting other people, whatever we see online, we can pull it offline, edit, and restate it, because remember, we liened the ones that were previously doing business as King County Superior Court and King County, all of that. Any of the county courts, we liened all of them, and we liened all the courts, all of those pretending to be courts. So therefore, everything starts with us and it stays with us. So that's the point that we wanted to make about assisting other people, getting your gold and silver commerce going, okay? Because all law is commerce anyway as well. But it needs to be proper commerce, gold and silver commerce. And let me just tell you what I was going to state earlier that opened up even further the knowing that everything is, that all we have to do is continue doing what we're doing. Start putting out that we are doing legal and lawful services and works on the land, and anyone needing assistance, the assistance starts with you first. Assist yourself first, then assist others. The way that we've done, really, because, you know, you all know the story of quote-unquote City of Federal Way from the past era and the things that we did and stated and put on a public record. So assist yourself first and then assist the people. And again, gold and silver. For everything that we do, gold and silver coins, more sovereign delarium between each other, and you know the subjects can do that also, but they have to get it from us. So for everyone who is a part of this Congress, go ahead and get your gold and silver actions and activities and services and works going. That was a complete success. We still have licenses and things that we're sending out. We've received gold and silver, gold and silver for everything. So go ahead and get that done once you saved yourself. Assist yourself first because that's most important. Yes, I can show the document slow. Let's do that. Just one moment. Just a moment. We will show it in just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. Let me show the documents here really quickly. So originally this was in all black ink. And we had to go in and just restate. And by the way, we're the only ones who can revest titles. No one else could do that. We're the only ones who can do that. So even in my demand for revest, I didn't know at the time, but I know now. In October of 2017, I did not know that we had the authority to do all the things we have the authority to do. And that no one else could have done it anyway. That's why nobody said anything. Nobody spoke up and said that they were this, that, or a third. Nobody said that they could. Here, this stamp right here is the purple stamp for King County Superior Court as well. And then, of course, this language on here is in Common English, but at the time, I would have put it in Ancient English, but I didn't. I put it in Common English, and that's okay. Either way, because it still belongs to us, and it's doing what we intended for it to do. The moment I put this in, my testing started. I got pulled over 3 times, and on that third time was when I did the first POW demonstration from December the 10th, 2017 until January the 4th, 2018. So I stayed in there about 20-something days, 25, 26 days, so that, because the ancestors were like, okay, let's, someone has stepped forward and saying they're the heirs, let's test them. And that was okay with me. And again, this language comes from RV Bay Publications. This part right here, this cause for action, comes from RV Bay Publications' Name Change and Judicial Proclamation, which we're so grateful for them, because they gave us the language that we needed that we willed at the time. We wanted to speak and state who we were and who we are. And then I did some research on the Sesta QV Trust, and this part right here, this I wrote. it says, be it known that on this 25th day of October 2017, proof of life and sufficient evidence is hereby given in fulfillment of Article 4 of the Siskiyou v. Trust of 1666, which states that if the supposed dead man proves to be alive, then the title is revested. Action for mean profits with interest. And so we know that we don't do interest, so they don't have any interest in anything we're doing. And so I pulled this language from the Siskiyou v. Trust document. So this came from there about, and this spelling in here is Old English, not ancient English, it's Old English, which is a hypothecation of ancient English. But this is how the Siskiyou v. Trust was written. Okay. So, and I'm showing this slowly so that those who are taking screenshots can get their screenshot. And of course, this was before I met you all. So this was before that time, but we jumped right in with all feet. Islam. Okay, so with that being stated about back to how to assist in this, to assist others who are doing, who need assistance and legal services. See, we can do legal services now because we're doing them by our own sovereign will. See, no one could plead the fifth because there was no court to plead the fifth.
I vote to remove tajiri ban.
No one could plead the fifth because in order to plead the fifth, you have to have some place to go.
Islam, the ancestors affirmed that because the sirens went off over here.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. So this is how we can help others at the territories. Their all caps can come through us. Because the Fifth Amendment says that they don't have to plead to a capital in any court. So what we do is we take full fiduciary responsibility for their all caps. For all capital letters. That's what our fiduciary affidavit is all about. That's what it states. That all letters, no matter what those letters look like, we're the fiduciaries for them, for our state. And so now an assist court, which is still Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan, you can call it consular, because we are consular, we do diversity issues and all of that. And then whoever it is that you're assisting, they just need to state that they command the Fifth Amendment according to the Constitution for the United States.
Islam, could we add that in there?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
And also the language stating to the trust and AA 222141 also.
Yes. AA 222141 was the copyright number for the Zodiac Constitution. It doesn't mean jack shit.
Just a moment. Okay, we're gonna have to throw you out because you're acting like a monkey. We're gonna have to throw you out.
Yes, and so that is our number. as we know it to be, because the Zodiac, man, listen, when I understand deeper on what the Zodiac Constitution really is, honey,
The Zodiac Constitution, we honor the Zodiac Constitution. There was someone who copyrighted it. Okay, so what did we do? All we did was lean the U.S. copyright, trademark and copyright patent office. We just leaned them because they were debtors. They were bankrupt in the first place. Yeah. So everything that went through there is in our custody.
Yes, Islam. Yes, though the information for the Zodiac Constitution is our science. That's why it's so powerful. And, they know that. And they've been pretending to operate with that for so long, with the 12 jurors and the circle and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Let me say this, too, about that, the all caps, how every all caps was enacted being ran through the U.S. Trademark and Patent Office. That's why they were saying you can't do whatever you want with it, that they can do whatever they want, la, la, la. Every all caps was ran through there in their enactment. So all we did was lean that thing, that monster, and then take fiduciary responsibility of all letters, all numbers, all sounds. If it makes a sound, we own it. All signs, if it's a sign of any kind, we own it. We control it. We have fiduciary responsibility. All of that.
Islam. Also, today I went through the Facebook files in the different groups and such, and I found a document that you had stated concerning no fee for filing.
Yes.
And so that is going to be restated because the color and such. And this was PDF, so I got to state it anyway. Yeah. But I'm just so thankful and grateful that things are just becoming more clear and more out there, that we really have this. Like, I keep rereading this document, that they are not liable for failure to provide.
That means don't go to them. That means don't go there.
Nothing.
Because they're not doing anything for anybody.
No.
They are not bonded, so they can't be liable. They're not bonded.
Right.
We are bonded.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say we, I mean our work is bonded, and then we have our spiritual bond together. Islam.
That was one of the reasons why there was the uniform bonding codes and that whole act, that whole thing about the uniform, because the corporations were never bonded, and it was mandatory under the bankruptcy provisions that allowed them to continue to be in existence, that they were supposed to be bonded in case they injured anyone with their operations. And they all pretended like they had bonds and they were insured and they had oaths, and they didn't have any of that. They were faking the funk like crazy.
Yes.
And in fact, because of my insurance background, I know for a fact, back in the 80s, we were still writing bonds for municipalities. By the 90s and the 2000s, that was over. And it became a specialized market, and only a handful of insurance companies, by the time we got to the late 90s, were writing or still doing bonds. You had to have a specialty company to get municipal bonds for municipal employees. Okay? So they were heading downhill at a fast pace back then. So by the time we get to the 2000s and 2010s and now the 20s, none of them are walking around with any kind of bonds. And to say that they're self-insured, goes against all international law. None of them can ever say they're self-insured. That's bullshit. That's bull cocky, bull crap. Because it doesn't exist under international law. So that lets you know the fraud that they have been doing all this time. So every one of them are personally liable for every prisoner of war, everyone they sentence, every policeman who pulls someone over, accosted them physically, mentally. They're all accountable, which is why there will be an accounting for all of them. And the ancestors will help us take care of that, or they will just take care of it and see to it that the system dismisses its own trash. And I look forward to all of that. Islam.
So let me say this about that. We had a job to do too, so we can't really like completely like obliterate, because we had a job to do too. And now that we're doing our job, Islam, I yield.
Add to that. The only thing I'll add to that is simply that literally when we didn't finish our part and didn't do our part, it's not about the fact that they were in error, we were in error. It's the fact that they are not repentant. And they have refused to change their ways, and they want to continue to violate it. That's what's going to cause their destruction, period. For those who repent and turn around, perhaps there can be some measure of forgiveness, okay, or a temperance of what you really do them karmically. But I don't know that. I can't speak for karma.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving that to the ancestors and everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that karma energy is over there, and that's why we don't even worry about what happens to them, because we got other people who are looking to us to assist them, and so that's our focus. We're not even focused on what they did and all of that. Listen, I'm not even mad at those actors that were previously acting as City of Federal Way. I'm not mad at them. They were doing what they were supposed to do until we did what we were supposed to do. And when we did what we were supposed to do, they stopped doing what they were doing. They stopped their acting. Period. Islam Empress.
The young lady that said she had the information for no cost to record things, can she put that in the office back there so we can see it?
Yeah. Yeah,
I appreciate
it. I believe in 2000. Yeah, it was Empress Angel that Empress Angel, was it the original post that we put on Facebook some years back with the waiver of fees? Was it that one?
Oh yes, it was in the my goodness, I'm gonna try to find it right quick. Find it, put it in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, we the ancestors had, while we were going through being tested in 2017 and 2018, the ancestors had us to craft an affidavit where we didn't pay any fees to because the U.S. the previous actors who were previously acting as U.S. District Court of Seattle, I had elevated, supposedly elevated a municipal thing from them continuing to act like they were pulling us over. And so I was like, they don't have jurisdiction. So I put together a document and then took it to U.S. District Court, thinking that they were going to at least call off the dogs down there. But they couldn't do anything. I had to do it. And they
Grand failure.
They basically told me that I had to do it. They said, we can't see you in propria persona sui juris. But before that, they were saying it was going to be $400 for me to even put the paperwork in. I was like, no, I'm not doing that either. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not.
Lock it up, bitch.
I'm not going to do that. So then, Chief Justice Howard should be able to get in. It's unlocked.
Come on, Raisinetta.
He should be able to get in. So they were saying that it was going to be $400. And so instead of me paying that, because I wasn't going to give them a dime, I said, okay, let me craft a document, a waiver. Let me just see. Is that the same one?
Yo, shit, so
because I'm going to tell you, it worked like a charm. I never paid them not a single dime. Oh, that's it right there. I remember this document. I remember crafting it. This was from 2018.
Yes, it's long.
Wow. Yeah, we
not so fast raising that up.
We jumped in with both feet. Our ancestors just gave us what to do. They said, just keep demonstrating, and we'll be with you while you demonstrate.
Why you so slow, girl?
And we just did that. That's what we did. So, yes, this is a waiver of payment, and it worked. We didn't pay a single dime at all. We never did. And then ended up issuing our own ruling, which was just crazy to us. We were like, okay, I guess we have to do that. So, again, as you do your gold, yes, indeed, you know what happens, Chief Justice Amir, he said he used that in 2017. What happens is when we demonstrate like that, the ancestors kick that thing to the side and give us a bigger test. That's what they did. They said, okay, she knew she didn't have to pay, so now let's have them to pull her over and detain her and see if she stands then. Is she going to stand? I stood. They said, okay, y'all got to let her go. You can't keep her. So after 20-something days, I was going to stand. I was not changing. They said, okay, let her go. Give her another couple of years to study and demonstrate and do what she's doing, and then test her again. And they tested me again in 2021, I believe. It was either 2020 or 2021, with a 10-day demonstration, a 10-day court demonstration. And we stood, and not only did we stand, but we had more information then to where we could just do the court action language. And when we did the court action language, everything opened up. Everything opened up because we stood. So now we're able to assist others and do standby for others, where we issue a ruling from our Article 3 court, notify the lower courts, and then whoever it is that we're providing the assistance to, they just state the Fifth Amendment, state it. And they can state it by documentation, or they can state it by appearing, either one, but still, they don't really even have to appear. And that is what your gold and silver coinage will be assisting people with. Again, standing by is, we have a duty to state the information that we know. We know we're the court. We know we're the highest court. And we also know that whoever it is does not have to answer for a capital, because all those fakes we're doing was using capital letters, period. So this is how you start and grow your business. Now, I was going to tell you something, and I stopped in the middle of it. But I was out in the neighborhood yesterday, out in the neighborhood, and I saw some people doing some fixing on a domicile out here. They were doing some woodwork and things of that nature. And I know that I have a lot of things that need to be done around here, but I was not going to engage in fiat commerce to get it done. So I said, ancestors, this stuff is going to wait until we can use our economic system to do it. It's going to wait, and I know you all are going to keep everything good for us until then. So I stopped to talk to those that were doing the work. I got their card, and I thought, okay, well, let me just take the card and hold it and see what happens. Well, the ancestors, once I got back into my domicile, the ancestors said, go back and ask them if they will accept gold and silver in payment for their work, because they do great work. So I went back out and I asked them, I said, do you accept gold and silver for your work? And it's like somebody hit him over the head with a frying pan. He said, well, I never heard of that, but yeah, we'll accept gold and silver. And when he said, I hadn't thought about that, that's what he said. I hadn't thought about that. He either said I hadn't thought about that, or I never heard of that. And he was in agreement with it. And then on my way back to my domicile, I just started thinking about all the things that we could get done. Because this domicile is also our consulate. It's our government building also. As you can see, we do government work from here. And so the ancestors just kind of, everything started flowing about all the things we could get done and everything we could get fixed. You know, we can get the kitchen sink fixed. You know, we can get gutters cleaned out. We can get woodworking done. And all of that. And so then I began to think about the circulation of the gold and silver, because even once we started receiving gold and silver with the program, we now have to look for places to spend it. You know, places to use it. The ancestors made it very clear to me that the business people are ready. And the one that I was speaking to, there was actually a few of them out there, but they would be happy to have a separate set of books where they take in gold and silver, because that set of books is not taxed. It's not taxed. And I know that that would be a blessing for them. Islam, Empress.
So that same thought has been in my mind in terms of actually putting an ad out there, seeing which companies, construction companies or whatever, that would be willing to accept the gold and silver.
You know, I actually, once I was so inspired, Empress, that once I talked to them and they were so open and accepting of that, I was tempted to just go out and do a survey, which would also be a court action. Because on surveys, and this is how they got us, y'all. Listen to what I'm about to tell you, because this is how they got us. They would send out these surveys with all these questions on it. We didn't know that was a court action, did we? That's what the census is.
Okay.
It's a court action to take jurisdiction over the names, the information. Right. That's what the census is. And so I started to put together a survey and just go from business to business and just ask, we're just doing a survey today. We have a couple of questions. What is your name? What type of business is this? And does this business accept gold and silver? Because it's a court action. And just bring back the results of that survey. and report that survey, because I think that would be some interesting information to have. And I don't care what the business is. It can be McDonald's. We want to know.
All right.
Even though
we
we
can
don't
do that online. Can we kind of arrange somehow to do that online too?
We could, Empress. We could do that if you come up with a way to do it. Here's my thinking about going out: is we'll just be introducing ourselves because we're the government.
Oh, right.
We're the courts. This is our territory. We need to know what's going on in the territory.
Right.
And so we don't even have to go all into all of that. All we do is ask a couple of questions and then say, are you willing to accept, or not are you willing, because it's not even that's not an optional. The question would be, does this establishment accept gold and silver coinage in payment of the services or whatever it is? Because see, that's also going to assist us on who to bond and who to ban.
Okay.
We are so serious about our government and our territory, and we have everything is wide open and ready for us to do all of these governmental things. So that will be a good way for them to start seeing the faces of the government, And then after a while, it's, oh, I've seen her before. Here she is again, the one with the turban on.
Because, they burned my email up trying to get me to accept stuff from them, and I know it's to get me back up under them, so I turned it down.
Yes. You know what you could do, Empress? If it's something that you're interested in, a benefit of some kind, tell them to send you the paperwork and then restate it and send it back.
Okay.
That's what we're doing now with everything. We're restating everything and saying, yep, we accept it. Now, this is our acceptance.
All right now.
Everything is open to us. We just have to accept it properly.
Yeah, I think there's a way that I might be able to copy the stuff that, when they send out those surveys.
Yes.
You can just copy it and restate it and send it back to them.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Indeed.
Islam Empress.
Thank you.
Indeed. Islam.
What do you think about giving the businesses that say that they accept gold and silver some type of document from us?
A bond. They must have a bond. I
was thinking along the lines like a certificate saying that they accept the gold and silver.
It would be an occupancy certificate.
Islam.
See, they were unlawfully occupying at first. Now we must state that they are there properly and then that they accept the payment the way they should accept the payment. Occupancy, and what you're stating is correct. The occupancy certificate from the city, which is you, and you said something else, Empress. What did you say that you were thinking along the lines of which one?
Almost like they come out and do an inspection, but it's like a certificate that they would do to do business.
Yes.
Or
well,
even
that's the bond does that. The bond does that for sure. Yeah, the bond does that. They would need a copy of the bond because remember, when businesses were not doing things according to the Constitution, it was, and then we would try and get recourse. We were trying to get recourse, and we would ask them for a bond number, and they never gave a bond number.
Like being in good standing.
A general services bond. Yes. And we're going to talk about that briefly for a moment, too, because that's so important. Yes, Empress, you're right. Every business must have it. And see, as we're doing this with the businesses, that means they're going to be able to accept the gold and silver that we're taking in. Like right now, we have gold and silver in our inventory because I believe someone put that question in the chat about, am I set up to take gold and silver? I certainly am. What does that look like? Do you have a hand to accept the gold and silver? Yes, you have a real hand to put the gold and silver in. Do you have a spreadsheet? That's your bank where you take it in, you nationalize it, because you got to nationalize the gold and silver before you use it. That means that all of the documents that come with that gold and silver that you use originate from you. And we showed that in a previous video about how to do that, how to nationalize gold and silver. We will go over that on Sunday as well. Today we were going over the 1041 and the 1041T. Okay, so we haven't forgotten that was our subject matter. So yes, every business, in order for them to continue, they're going to have a bond from us. They're going to have an occupancy certificate, which I can show you all of that because we already started doing that here. We didn't have a choice. We had to do it here. Just one moment. Let me pull that up. Let me pull up an occupancy certificate, one that we did for the post office here. Now, remember, Morris, listen to me carefully. As we're doing these things, we're also making that place ready to receive nationalized Moors who may want to work there or whatever the case may be when we put our occupancy certificates there and we put everything where it's supposed to be. Let me just give you a quick example of that, and we'll go over that. Occupancy certificate for the post office. All of this stuff. This is what government is. Let's see. We have done so much in terms of making sure that, and again, our ancestors knew that we would do the right thing when it came to government. That's why everything kind of happened so quickly. This is an occupancy certificate for the post office from City and Federal District, Federal Way. Just one moment. Let me make sure it's on the screen too. Okay, this is City and Federal District, Federal Way occupancy certificate. Now, this is for the building for the post office. Okay, at this territory. And what we did was we bonded them because we had to bond them or else they can't, no one can do business the way that the Constitution and our ancestors and us have stated that they do business. They must do business according to our bidding. And in order for that to happen, we must bond them. And so the temple building address is there. And we completed that whole address right here at the bottom. Issued to United States Post Office. It's not issued to the Postal Service. It's issued to the Post Office, and the Postal Service has to get under that. Okay, and we put them all on the same lien, though. The bond permit number. This number right here came from the Post Office's tax ID number restated. And then the building use we got all of this information from the building permit that they enacted. We upgraded the quality of the building to excellent because it's going to be excellent by the time we get there. I think they had it as good or average or something like that. It will be excellent by the time we get there. Original building date 1991, structure, class, masonry, all of that. Approved by Pauline Denise Ritchie, Chief Building Inspector. And again, you all know that your appellations go in there at your territories for everywhere that you're doing these things. Post in the public lobby of the building, in the building. And then Islam, and then I autographed it and dated it and sent it as notification. Islam, with the bond, a copy of the bond.
Okay, very well. And so you stated that the issue 2 is the post office overarching. And so anything else comes up under it. So provided, let's say we did a grocery store and it's a subsidiary of a bigger chain,
Mm-hmm.
we would do the overarching, and then gratitude. The something else will go up. How will we state that? The subsidiary.
You'll place a lien on everybody, on all the fakes, and then what you do when you levy, you will levy the corporate, and then you'll also do a second levy on the subsidiary, because any property that they're claiming is not their property, it's ours.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do the bond, you bond the main one. And if you want to put the subsidiaries in the main bond, you can, but I prefer to do a separate bond for each one. And the reason why I prefer to do a separate bond for each one is because it's easier for record keeping purposes to know when I look at my list of bonds that I've issued, I will know that I will know that bond, specific bond, because they each have a different tax number. So I will know that specific place was bonded separately. And then when I look at the lien, I'll see who the parent company was claiming to be. But it's all law is specific, so it's easier specifically, especially when it comes to spreadsheets, to put in records, to just name each one, state each one. Because when you look at the bond just off the top, you may not know that within that bond is contained a subsidiary, or other people who look at your bond may not know. And we really want to keep other people in mind as we're governing. You'll know, but other people may not know that, Piggly Wiggly or Albertsons grocery store is the parent company of Safeway grocery stores or whatever. So a separate bond is my suggestion for easier record keeping, and for those who are coming after you who will be doing that job as you elevate. It'll be easy for them to just look at your records and be able to just know what's going on. So, what were we looking at here? So our ancestors knew, as we were demonstrating the things that we've demonstrated throughout the years, they knew that we would get to this point where we would, be knowing how to state and restate things and take proper authority over the paperwork and the documentation, the letters, the numbers. Someone sent something in the inbox regarding mailing of nationality and proclamation documents to us. and wondering how long does it take for us to record their documents and send back the confirmation. We don't do that. Because guess what? Those are your records. You're as much the government as I am. Yes, we received the documentation and we were glad to see it because it's competent documentation. But those are your records. Your record keeping authority is hereby activated. So that's the first of the records that you will keep. You affirm your records. You sent them certified, so you have a certified tracking number. That's an account number. So start there. And then with regard to national ID cards, is there anyone here who's doing national ID cards? Because here's the thing about the national ID cards. All of us are supposed to be doing them. All of us. We're doing the federal driver license program to cover a wider range of persons on our land. You have the authority, yes, Justice Earl Lloyd L. To the Empress who inboxed me about national ID cards, connect with Justice Earl Lloyd L. in the chat. He's just put that he will assist with that. We didn't put as much emphasis on national ID cards because the ancestors told us specifically that everyone who comes to us for nationality information, we are supposed to tell them that they can create their own. Moors don't need permission from anyone, but they needed to hear that they have the authority to do it themselves. And that they can create an ID card for themselves today in Word or on their computers, put a passport style photo in there, create it. You can either laminate it or you can put it in a plastic cover, and that's your ID card. So, the ancestors did not really want us to put a whole lot of emphasis on that because they said that leaders are coming. Leaders are coming. Leaders. So they need not look to you to do the basic things that they do. They have the authority to do for themselves and for those around them, because that's really our concern, is everyone around us. Now, I've given ID cards out here, national ID cards out here. I've done that before. We have the capabilities to do it. Thank you, too, as well. Thank you both. We have the ability to do it. But the Empress that put that in the chat, we would encourage you as soon as possible, because, see, we saw the documents. They're competent. So as soon as possible, get an ID machine so that you can assist others with Moorish IDs. Because, see, we can do it here if we have to do it. We have the capacity, the capability, and all of that. All Moors have the authority to do it. You have the authority. Where's the stuff? Get a few things so that we get the gold and silver going like it should. We're using that previous system in order to launch the new our ancient system. That's all we're doing. Every Moor should have an ID machine so that you can assist the others around you, either with IDs or with driver's license or notary documents. You should be the public notary there, or you should be you're the court. People who've been pulled over who didn't have proof of driver's license and proof of insurance. We can provide that. A bond in the name of the person with the social as the bond number. Okay? That's their insurance right there. And then at any time, you can place a lien on an insurance company like we have done. If they had past insurance of any kind, even if it was just for one day, place a lien on the those that were previously doing business as the insurance company, place a levy on the process of insurance and the property, and then do a bond. And when you do the bond and you bond yourself, you can put your insurance and all of that in your bond, and then you just notify. Well, guess what? The only courts that are operable with regard to your bonds is your court. So even if there's an accident or something, it's our courts that are going to be doing the rulings. And then here's what we do along the way, Morris, is those businesses out there, the small businesses and the businesses that do collision repair and the businesses that do things of that nature, you're going to have the gold and silver to pay them. That's why we're doing what we're doing now, is testing the waters to see who accepts gold and silver. Well, when I tested it, all I could see was everything around here fixed by the response that I got. I saw everything fixed. I saw this place even enlarged with a courtroom, because all the business people are trying to escape the taxation because they're being taxed heavily. And they didn't really know how to get out of that, but now they do know because we keep speaking. So,
and we thank your husband Raymond for paying his property taxes on your behalf. Come on, baby girl, where you at?
So the change is here already. The change is already here. And it's the circulation of the gold and silver that is the key. We have to not only take it in, but we have to bond and create the places that accept it. Because if you'll remember, Morris, all of the quote-unquote states have already made gold and silver acceptable. The banks have too. We talked about that before. There were articles that came out that said, and they were just acting, but it's always been the case. When you bond a bank, you bond them to gold and silver. And then you demonstrate it. We demonstrate it. We've taken in gold and silver to the point where we can demonstrate gold and silver at any of these places. But see, we had to set the value also, because all they're going to say is, well, how do we accept this? How do we take this in? This is how you take it in. It'll be nationalized at $50,000 per ounce in gold and $30,000 in silver, or $35,000, Empress Angel. What did we say?
Nobody takes your
shit. I think it was $35,000, Empress Angel.
Nothing fucking shit. You haven't gotten your conveyance.
$35,000.
You have.
Empress Angel, I think it was
Islam, yes.
35,000.
Oh no, it was even
30,000. Okay.
Yes.
So now that we nationalized it at that particular point, we would get 30,000 in. We would get 30,000 in services and works for that coin. I thought about all the things that could be fixed. I thought this consulate is going to be awesome. My domicile is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And once I did that, I could see the land change right before my eyes. I saw our actual land change right before my eyes when I thought about all the things we can do with our money that we have, So get your gold. And here's the thing about the gold and silver services. I'm just going to print some flyers out and go out and put them out there. That is my suggestion as to how to get notification or get, have it known the same way that they taught us when I was growing up in Christianity, where they would have a bunch of tracts printed up, tracts. And it's so funny they called it tracts because it was actually a contract. But they called them tracts that's printed up, and they have the name of the church. Sometimes they would have a cartoon story about someone, who did drugs or alcohol and they became a Christian and how their lives got so much better and all of that. But I'll just print some tracts up, gold and silver legal services, and with our gold and silver legal services, we issue a bond for that gold and silver legal services and put it on the public record and notify that our courts, King County Superior Court, all of the courts that we operate from must be bonded. So there are a lot of bonds that we're going to be producing. When you spoke about bonds, Noble Phoenix, and about how after a while they stopped bonding and bonding became a specialty interest, it's because once everything is bonded, they told them you cannot accept. See, their bonds would say that you cannot accept gold and silver. And Noble Phoenix, you said that was in the 80s. That was after 71 when they enacted doing away with gold and silver altogether.
Yes, indeed. That part of it was because it was against public policy for the citizens to even have gold and silver. But the bonding had really not that much to do with the fact that the municipalities stopped being bonded and their servants were going out on the streets not being bonded, but they didn't know that. Yeah. Okay? The little minions didn't know they were going out and they had no surety, they had no bonding, and that they were going out unprotected because the headquarters didn't tell them. They said, yeah, we got to cover it, we're self-insured, but they wouldn't know that was illegal under international law and the bankruptcy law. They would not know that. So, and it was more to do with the fact that too many claims were coming in and the insurance companies were not willing to take the risk anymore of insuring them because they were too criminal. And it was a moral hazard, that's an insurance term, for them to even think about trying to insure them anymore because you're insuring criminals. And they knew that. So the insurance industry backed up and would not insure them anymore. That's why they all had to start going and getting self-insurance because they couldn't get none from any commercial companies.
Well, that just means that the ones that was previously doing business as popes told them they weren't going to insure them anymore because that's where the insurance was coming from in their enactment in the first place.
Well, and the secondary part of that made it not a good business venture to take on the insurance of a municipality because, number one, whatever premium you charge them, you're never going to charge them enough to pay for all the claims. So that makes it a risk they're not willing to take.
Yeah.
So that's how it really worked. Whether the both said anything or not, from a strictly business standpoint, it didn't make sense to insure them. It's like a driver who's a drunk driver all the time, and they've had 15 accidents in 5 years. Okay, and they were drunk every time. Why would you ever insure them? You wouldn't. They're uninsurable. Same thing.
Yes, indeed. That makes complete sense to me. And plus, there were no Islam empress.
I have a couple questions. Well, a couple.
Empress, where are you? Empress Aisha, we can't hear you. If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I wanted to ask you maybe to speak on the issue of surety and bankruptcy court, how would you handle leaning and levying and bonding those?
The same way we do everything, Empress, because they were bankrupt from the beginning. So anybody who has gone to bankruptcy court and they have bankruptcy documents or they're filing bankruptcy, that means they already have a number that can be restated. And then a lien, a levy on the property, because see, it's the property that was being fraudulently claimed. So the levy is to bring is for possession of the property. An internal revenue levy, because we're the internal revenue. And when you do internal revenue levy on the property, then you can bond that property properly. So a lien on the fraud, a levy on the property, taking it from them, saying they haven't paid taxes on it. And that also goes for, for example, if it's an individual, I placed a levy on their fraudulent Pauline Denise Ritchie. That was their doing. That's the one with the dashes in the number and the black ink and the capital letters. All that property belongs to me. And so you levy the property and then you bond the property. And I bond it myself, or that, and not myself, but that name. So that's how you do it. You just keep that process in mind. Lien, levy, and bond.
And you have to redo the paperwork. I mean, restate it.
Restate the paperwork. That's it, Empress. That's the process. That's the whole process right there.
Levy, lien, and bond.
Yes.
Okay.
And see, I say lien, levy, and bond because you have to lien first. Then your possession will be proper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And how? I mean, I have this thing in my mind about this surety process. How does that work? I need to go do my research on it, huh?
Well, Empress, no, we've done a lot of that already for in assistance of your study. So where surety is concerned, we've made it so that gold is surety for all on our bonds. That's why names and people and persons can't be taken for that. Gold is a person also, if you say that it is, but only gold is the surety. And then in our bonding process, if you'll notice, pages 6, 7, 8, and 9 talk about insurance, reinsurance, direct writing, not underwriting, but direct writing of the insurance process. And remember, we're the bank, so anyone will accept gold, silver, or more sovereign dollarium, but we want to focus on gold and silver. More sovereign dollarium is the receipt for that. That's what makes it valid. So, yeah, so bonds, and then you can change the language in the bonds. We gave some basic language for the bonds according to our ecclesiastical authority, but you can put whatever you want in your bonds to cover whatever you want to cover. But just make sure that you put the Fifth Amendment in there. Like Empress Angel was saying earlier, can they put the Fifth Amendment? I would encourage you to put the Fifth Amendment in all your bonds.
Okay.
And Empress, we thank you for that little bit of tidbit of assistance.
Well, thank you.
And then making sure that that gold and silver and more sovereign dollarium gold receipts are the exchange methods by which things happen. Yeah. And also there's an arbitration statement that we're going to put in our documents, in our bonds. And it's already on the record many times, but just if for those who sense this, that if there are any issues with anything that's happening, our courts are the courts for record. And that's if you feel you need to put that in there. It's a spell, you know. To me, it's a given. We wouldn't have it any other way. You know, we wouldn't even answer to any other, you know, anyone pretending to be a court for us and for everything that we do, or a bank, or anything. So yeah, Empress, lien, levy, bond. Those are keys. We do everything in threes: lien, levy, bond. That's going to nationalize and naturalize everything that's out there. Bond is a naturalization process, but the lien and the levy are the nationalization process, because only nationals can own property and hold property, or own property rather.
You said the bond is the naturalization.
It's naturalization unless it has something to do with the sovereigns. So, for example, Pauline Denise Ritchie, the bond that's on Pauline Denise Ritchie, it's a national bond. It's not naturalized; it's national. Really, all of our bonds are national bonds. They all are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which one then would be the natural?
For naturalization, it depends on the identification that we've issued.
Okay.
It depends on the identification that we've issued. Because, see, we did include our subjects in our bonding process, in the language. In our overarching bond, it was the Moors and their subjects.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Empress. Hopefully that assists in what you're doing, your great demonstration.
Islam,
Empress.
So now Chief Justice Howard has this question. In order for us to do business, does the actual silver coin have to be given over? That the exchange has to happen. Or apparently in the past, a coin didn't have to be exchanged. There was some other process, but that's the question.
The answer to that question, and this is the way we do it, because we've done so much without anything being handed over, the answer is yes, the coin must be given. Now, Empress Shasha, how you run your governmental business, it should be uniform all the way around for us. It should be not uniform, but universal, where the coin is given first. That's how we've done with the federal driver license program, and it has worked out beautifully. Some of the gold that we received wasn't even in coin form; it was in bullion form.
Oh, okay.
We accept bullion. Mm-hmm. So but we have received one or two requests where they didn't send anything. They were just hoping that the urgency of their situation would prompt us to do what we're doing. But we're not going to do it that way. Yes. We're not going to do it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because it's time for order on the land. Everything that we've done it without any, we didn't ask for anything from anyone to do these things that we've done, because we knew we would get to this point where, okay, it's time for everyone. That means the heirs too. Because, see, what that heir was asking me to do, she could do for herself.
Correct.
And we've always stated that. That's why we share the processes, because the Moors, we can do these processes each and every. There's not a single process that I do that any other Moor can't do for themselves. So I'm not going to let her get away with that.
Well, because that is kind of pulling a fast one. Yes.
It's kind of pulling a fast one.
Abdicating her own responsibility, her own sovereignty. So you may as well sit back over the other side.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to let her abdicate her throne.
Right.
To mine. No, yes. I'm not. She will do it herself.
And that really makes me think of with children. You do not enable them because they must come up.
Yes.
It's the time now. You must stand. And so, yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Another question is the postmaster ID.
Yes.
Now, that's something I've been kind of, looking at. But have you, and I know that we all can do and will do, but have you even begun that? And is there something you can share?
Yeah, of course. I am wanting to get to the 1041 and the 1041T, but I will show you the ID that I have for Postmaster. Let's see. What did I do with it? I know it's here in this particular file. Let me see if this is the one. Is this it? I believe it's okay. This is the front of the Postmaster ID card. Now, and I did tell you all that when I went there, they were like, "Oh, you have to have you have to have an ID card." That's the only reason why I backed up a little bit, because she was correct about that. We honor processes. Just a moment. Let me see.
I will.
Okay, but Justice Howard, before you do the demonstration, just ensure that you know for sure who you're talking to. Know who you're talking to when you go to do these demonstrations. Just one moment. You know what I'll do in order to show that document? Just a moment. You're not talking to a Postmaster General. Don't do that. Don't do the demonstration yet. Just as a suggestion, until you know that they're not who they say they are. So here, let me. This is the front of it.
That looks just like I found one online. Of course, yours is soft material.
And then you have to know what the codes on there mean as well, because they have codes on them.
Okay.
And so I had to do the research on the codes and everything.
Government, what's the word underneath?
It says government vehicle.
Vehicle. Oh, okay. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. The back.
Yes, there is. This is the back of it. Now you know how on the back they have QR codes.
Oh yes.
Our QR code is our right red thumbprint.
Absolutely.
For now.
I'll send it the file to you.
Okay. And then this badge number, the first 9 digits is the post office tax ID number restated properly. And since this was the first badge, I just put 0001. And you can put for those last 4 digits for your territory. It can be whatever you choose. But we should have some order on that. We should talk about the order of that.
So that's the bond number also.
It is the bond number, yes. Everything comes together. Everything goes together. Everything goes together.
So let me ask a question then. The bond, it's on the Treasury creditor bond, all the numbers are together. This is how it would appear, but without the dashes, or why did you put it together? Or did I maybe miss you saying why it looks like that? Whereas on the bond, all the numbers were, they ran consecutively. There was.
I separated the numbers because in the system recognizes a sequence of numbers that looks like Social Security numbers.
Ah, okay.
So that's why I put the spaces there.
Okay, wonderful.
And sometimes in corporate arenas, they will have the first 2 numbers together and then the rest of the numbers. But we just stay with the way our system works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And the actual address is the post office address.
Yes. Because I'm the one who issued the, and when I say I'm the one, we all did it, who issued the occupancy certificate.
Will that cover all the districts in your territory?
This is an earth-wide bond.
Earth-wide bond. Yeah.
The bond is for the whole post office system.
Okay.
That's it. So if we want to go, when we decide to go to the post office to correct it so that all of our envelopes and parcels can get to their delivery destination, because that's where I'm headed. Sasha's heading in that direction. Earl, Dawood, and quite a few others in our prospective territories.
Okay, let me say this about that demonstration. And this is what I'm hearing in the spirit realm. Before you all do that demonstration, you must know who you're talking to. That's going to be the most important thing, because if you go in there and give them a title, they're going to pound on you verbally. Okay, you don't want that. Verbally, they're not going to hurt you, but they'll start talking crazy, funny mirror talk. Know that they are subjects holding space until you get there. That's number 1. Number 2, before you do that demonstration, notify that you're coming and why you're coming. Number 3, you all, and I'm not going to stroke any egos here. I'm going to be honest and honorable. This is a suggestion. Check your processes and make sure that the way you're sending things and what you're saying in what you send is lawful and legal and appropriate. And I know your stuff is lawful. It's the legal part where the system starts to want to fight back a little. So make sure that the methods that you're using, that no one is giving themselves a zip code in that upper left corner, that when you speak to them and you have them as the subject on your document. It's those types of things. Check your methodology. And here's the thing about even the methodology. When your methodology is exactly what it should be, most of the time the tracking doesn't even matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. Now, you do want to see that your stuff is getting where it's going. You know, we can look in the system and see, okay, everything is getting where it's going. The last time they tried something where they were trying to say things are, where I would look in the system and things had not moved for a minute, the ancestor said, don't say a word, just wait. And sure enough, I checked again a week later, and everything had gone through. They had a new error that time in the system, the one that I had not seen, so I did a little research on it. But it wasn't anything wrong with my methodology and the things that I did. Everything that I did, the legal system honored what I did, and the thing went on through. It's just that they hadn't seen it before. So those are my suggestions before you go down and do what you're doing. I will say this, and this is even further of me stating what I know about our systems and about our ancestors. If all of you are seeing it in your territories, please take into consideration what we stated just now. Just a moment, Empress Angel, just a moment. Okay. Please take into consideration what we stated. We state all that we state in love. You know that. Our love is not even on the table. Now it's processed. Islam, Empress Sasha.
May I add something in there? What's interesting in my case, so I have mailed using our processes from the Black River Post Office. Everything, and I've checked the tracking, 18 packages, something like that. They all got to where they were going. The ones which I haven't actually leaned that particular post office. I've leaned overarching the whole postal system here, plus the United States Postal Office. I have leaned the two closest to me, which are the ones that are not, in fact, trying to give me back mail. So, you know, I'm listening and I hear exactly. So there are differences in my processes, I know, from here to there. But the truth of the matter is I've done more here for these ones that are not cooperating than the ones that actually sent them right where they needed to go. So I definitely will be looking and digging and seeing where and what I need to do. I know I need to do the bonds. I've done liens and levies and that sort of thing. So I absolutely will be refocusing and doing a big dig before I go and do this demonstration. So.
Another question. Are we still sending our court action defaults, the 5-6 packages that we normally send to DC's email portal? So when we levy them, so we're no longer doing the process of sending our affidavits, meaning the defaults, after we've done the court actions and whatnot, to Washington, D.C.'s email portal.
Are you led to do that? Are you led to do that? What does your spirit say? As you're doing your processes, what is your spirit saying about that?
My spirit says no, because of our ascending, the level where we are right now. Because at that time, we didn't have the bonds nor the levies.
That is absolutely what I would have stated as the answer to that question. You all have moved beyond that part, but there are some more who are still back there at the timeline there, and that's not good or bad. It's just where they are on the timeline. Where you are, your spirit in your demonstrations, your spirit is always going to be the first authority for what you're doing.
These are the things that we discuss in our roundtable, our Benjamin roundtable, all of us. We make a vote decision because we're also finding a shorter way
Yeah. Yeah. It was the processes of proper presentment for liens, levies, and things of that nature that our ancestors wanted us to know and to share, so that we could stand on everything that we've done unequivocally, without question. Without question, we can stand on all the documentation and the paperwork we've done.
Islam.
Just a moment. One more moment, Empress Angel. Let me, Justice Howard. Let your spirit guide you, and also whenever you're preparing to do those types of demonstrations, like going somewhere and doing a face-to-face, let your spirit lead you there also. Let the spirit go before you to clear the path before you. And then, and this is what we state always, and we practice it as well, and not practice it, we actually do it. We all actually are. None of us are practicing. That's why these things are important. That when we go, that our authority comes across in our paperwork before we get there, so that when we get there, we don't have to try and push authority on people. They already know. Excuse me. So
that's interesting you said that, because me and Sister Sasha and some others were chatting about Marriott and public storage and default, those types of things. And we've established a fiduciary and resigned them and all that good stuff, and sent them notification, all those good things. But also we sent them, for example, this is for payment for one of your storages, for example. And I've done that process and everything. And
that's part of the process.
The local one. So I went to the local one and asked the general manager, have you got any communications from your headquarters in Glendale, California?
Not the general manager.
He says no.
The cult can't contact you on a cell phone number. The cult can't contact you on WhatsApp. The cult can't contact you.
Justice Howard, I'm gonna let Empress Shasha deal with that. Because I heard you, Empress Shasha. I heard you do. Yeah.
It's not theirs, and it's your subject, and he's not the general manager, and those are the missing pieces, actually.
Yeah.
In your processes.
That and a bond.
And a bond.
Because yeah. The ancestors has that word came out the spirit realm really loud. A bond. He hasn't bonded them.
we talked about actually, yes, that's the piece. Yeah. And knowing they are not general manager, they're your subject. It's not their premises, it's your premises. That piece.
Please know that.
Share with her about the Marriott, what we did, Sasha, so people can hear.
They need to be bonded. They need to be bonded. All of that has to happen.
And then.
Yes, we're working on that.
One of the things I have discovered is that, for instance, the Marriott is actually a different. It's not the Marriott.
Right.
And that's what it's Columbia, Sussex, which these investment companies are, they're not the owners, but they're the funny mirror. So even though the Marriott International has been liened and levied, and then the bond will be done, so then what my spirit is saying, then, okay, so then there's another entity, so that entity must be liened, levied, and bonded also.
That entity is the crown, and we have the crown. We are the crown.
We are the crown. So we know. So once we've liened what was or what was appearing to be the one in the funny mirror, it's done. Because everything above that is us, and it's in our possession anyway. Is that
well? Think about what your liens say, Empress. It says all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof.
And that's absolutely, and that's actually come up in the conversation too, because anything and everything is a derivative.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So it's And that is the main reason. What you just illustrated there, Empress, is why our ancestors broke everything down for us and had us do it line by line and precept by precept, so we would look at the documentation and just stand on it and know it. And you know, it's beautiful how a lot of these principles we didn't know. We weren't taught these principles in the last era, so now we're getting them, you know. So it's beautiful, and let me say that Justice Howard, Justice Dawood, Empress Shasha, and Empress Nana, I know she in there somewhere too. I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Because faith without works is dead. Yeah.
Faith without works is dead. And guess what faith is? Faith is the payment system.
Yeah.
That's what faith is. The payment system. It's how you get things.
Yeah. Yeah. And faith, actually the word faith, F-A-I-T, is faith, to do, to make, to. In français, in French, so it's in the word itself.
Yes, and it is your destiny, your fate. It's what determines what happens with you.
Yes. And in order for things to happen, you must do.
Yes.
You must do. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You make it happen.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I yield now.
You all are doing all the right things. Justice Howard, you better know that they don't have any titles, or I'm coming to get you. I'm coming, but I'm going to get Empress Shasha first so we can both get you.
Hello.
And Empress Nana too.
Yeah.
Know that, because see, you're the one who's bonding them. They can't bond themselves. If they were able to bond themselves, then they would be a postmaster general. But they can't even pay for they're not even paying their own salary.
Yeah.
As I said,
Islam.
we already did the allonge on numbers of so-called debtor companies. Me, Earl, Sasha, Dawood, and
yeah.
We've joined forces
Yeah.
in the knowledge in our round table, and we discuss it.
Yeah. Islam.
And then our spirits say,
Islam.
So you just do it.
Yeah.
So we're the musketeers of the movement.
Islam.
Original people on the land. That's
Islam.
So
Islam.
we take what you share with us and we multiply it, and we bring others in and we assist them. So that's what we've been doing for months and months and months and months. Behind the scenes.
Islam. That's beautiful. The question that was asked earlier, Empress Shasha, about the coin being given first, I want to also state with what you all are doing is when you state that the coin must be given first, you're actually increasing your own blessing because the energy is moving. Because that's really what's happening here is we have to get the circulation of the coinage. And if it's a priority to them, they'll get the coinage. People did it with fiat. If it's a priority, they'll get it, or they'll get the bullion, or they'll go tear up a computer and pull some gold out of the computer or something, you know. But we have the circulation has already started, so we have to keep it going and increase and increase and increase, because that's how our wealth manifests on increase.
Islam. We're also going to be sending you 2 silver coins.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's going to get the front porch steps fixed. So when y'all get here, you won't fall through. Islam.
You're going to send everything back to Sasha.
Beautiful, yes, indeed, because this is matriarchal now. You honor the matriarch, you for sure to be wealthy, extremely. Your wealth will manifest very quickly that way. Islam.
What we've also done, I want you all and everyone to know, we've merged all the different territories.
Islam.
Consciously, and we knew why we did it, because we knew our people still in comatose stage. Okay, so we can't wait for them to come out and participate because we tested to get involved. I'll say, well, they won't get involved, so it's up to us. It's on our shoulders. So we decided that we're going to merge all 5 territories, and everybody agreed. We voted on it. We did an affidavit on it, and it's done. It's got the seal on it and everything.
Islam. There were never any boundaries between us anyway, but Islam, indeed. I have to get to Empress Angel because twice Empress Angel had to wait, and we want to hear what she got to say. So,
Islam gratitude. Islam gratitude.
We all yield the floor.
Oh, gratitude. I mean, I do have things important to say, though it's just more or less an edification to the statement that you made about demonstration and making sure that you have your processes in order, because we have planned a demonstration tomorrow, right? And it's just a put on notice.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not doing anything else besides giving them on the counter. That's it.
Yes.
So that from the processes that we know that we had to have the lien, the levy, and the bond, and the 1099A, the 1099C, the 1096, those are tax internal revenue documents that have to be put on the record as well, pertaining to the process, because those are how things get accounted.
Yes.
And things of that nature. So my partner over here, Nathaniel, was saying how we should put our demonstration on hold. I was like, no, we don't need to, because we have everything in proper order, and no time are we in or out of time at any point in time, because we are timed, that part. Though, for the point of demonstration and the nature of things and how things are turning out, as far as how, you know, whatever the situation is, I was like, we're going to go and we're going to just put the documentation on the counter and walk out. That's it. And we're going to put it in the mail and put it in the email. So, and that's the trifecta as far as I'm concerned. So, I just wanted to get that on the record to affirm that, you know, we already have our process already known, and it's stamped out. It's clear, it's concise. And, like, if you know that, there shouldn't be any hesitation to you waiting to do a demonstration. If you know that you've got everything, stand firm in that and then do your demonstration.
Yes. If I may state something about those types of demonstrations, because I've done quite a few of those also, and I know you all have too. As you know, when you go into a place on the land and you put something on the counter, there's always going to be someone going, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, ma'am, because they want you to war with them about about your commands.
Though I must state, over here at Westchester County, when I did that, the first few times it was like that. But as I continued on and I went over there, it was like, okay, no problem.
I don't respond to them when they say that. It's kind of
I didn't. They said, oh, they looked at it and they said, okay. And that's all they said. They looked at it and they said, okay. I didn't say anything further.
That's what they should be saying, Empress. That's what they should be saying. That's what they should be saying, because, and if they don't say anything, if they don't say that, then whatever else they're saying is not a thing.
But they did ask the question. They was like, the file number. I said, it's in there. I said, everything you need is in there.
That's the best response to any of that, is all your questions are answered in the documentation.
That's it. And I walked out.
And that will mute them so quickly. Because see, then you're doing what we were always commanded to do by our own selves, because nobody commands us but us, is let our documentation precede us.
And even in that instance, I'm sorry to cut your wisdom, but even in that instance, it is preceding you, because they've gotten it, they've accepted it, they looked at it, and it preceded your response. It's in there. Yes. That's that part.
Yep.
It's Prego. It's in there.
Yes, that's it. And then it's Nike. Just do it.
Islam. That part.
So yeah, we're not like. We're not accepting, like, it's not a taking no for an answer situation. It is what it is, and we're doing what we're doing, and we're being who we are
at all points in time.
And we're not even being arrogant or anything about that, but we are confident.
Yeah, we
are confident
and assured.
Yes,
we are assured.
Yeah. That's a better word than confident. Assured is a better word. I like that word better. And then when you talk about the 1099-Cs, let's talk about the process that you've put in place, Empress. The 1099-Cs, now remember back a while back they said that that the IRS was hiring 87,000 new whatever. That was from the last era. But when you show with the 1099-C,
cancellation, yes. Oh, I can't hear you at the moment. Islam, I can't hear you.
Yeah, that they were taking in, they're going to have to account. They don't want that. But then when you come right back with the bond, that's telling them that they can escape the taxes using the Fifth Amendment when they accept gold and silver and lawful Moorish gold receipts. That's really what we're doing. We're making sure that we address and give commands and govern and take authority over both sides of the book.
That part. Yes, and I stated that earlier today about, the bookkeeping, because you had stated that previous Congress about how if you was to fill out a mortgage, one document would go left and the other one would go right. One would go to debt, one would go to for them to take and apothecate your autograph time and time again for the that part. And that whole system of fraud. And so now that it's in the living du jour, and now it's, we're stating and we're doing the bookkeeping, because Nate asked me earlier today, he's like, what does the 1099 cancellation form do? I said, well, it balances the books. Yeah. And he was like, well, further, and he wanted to, and I was like, oh, so you meant me to add unto and state that it takes the debt that they were claiming, it takes it and put it in the creditor side, and then the creditor side now has gold. So it removes the debt, cancels it out, and now it is just a credit that is reflecting in the book. And so it's the forgiving of the debt, it's the cancellation of the debt, and it's giving even in so this is a reversal of life. So a negative would be positive in that regards in that side. Mm-hmm. Because we're canceling it. Now it's showing as a positive because it's going on the opposite side of the spectrum. It's being a credit in the true living, because you remember if you ever was in business, I'm sure we all were, if you were, black was the positive and the red was the negative. Yeah. Right. So now it's the reverse. So to have a negative in that system would be a positive, because now they're getting rid of the debt. They're saying, okay, we're getting rid of it, so the more negative they see on that side is a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's the cancellation, the 1099-Cs, and the 1099-As, and those things, that part.
Yeah.
So they welcome that.
Yeah, it has to balance. It has to balance. All of it has to balance. And with the processes, we make it balance. Therefore, we're governing it competently.
Islam. So that part.
Yeah. So, just remember, Justice Nathan, just go and put it on the desk and walk out. Demonstration done. And now I'm not saying go do it. What I am saying though is that no matter what, it's still going to work in your favor. All of it.
I affirm.
Yeah. And then also do some spirit work between now all the way up to and through the demonstration. Do some spirit work. Do some spirit work. Anytime that the doubt comes in, do some spirit work. We all have doubts. At some point in the past, we've had doubts, and we just do spirit work through them. Just like what I was saying about yesterday, we felt the spirit of depression come, and I said, ancestors, what is it? Because I already know I don't have anything to be depressed about, and I'm not even accustomed to feeling that. So I'm like, ancestors, what is this about? And then they showed this big ball of energy. They showed that in the spirit realm, I could see this big ball of energy that was supposed depression leaving the earth, like a comet going backwards. I was like, wow.
Yeah, Islam
nobility. Yeah, Islam, Empress Angel.
Islam.
Have we, just a moment, nobility, Empress Angel, have we?
Yes.
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 Islam. Thank you so much. And we're with you at the demonstration tomorrow. We're with you. You know that.
Yes, gratitude.
Yeah. Islam. Nobility.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I had a thought about speaking about the gold. I been into refining with the electronic strapper, or like an electronic strapper, and I took it all the way to the point where I took it to the gold exchange, and they've confirmed that it's gold there, it's platinum there, but the thing is, the next step to take would be how could you use this stuff when it needs to be refined, because it has to be smelted and separated from the other metals in order to get the gold, in order to mold it into something or have the pure gold. That's the next step. So I was wondering if you know anyone who are into that, because I really need to. I would like to start a strapping thing with refining strap electronic parts, but I don't see being able to do anything with the gold unless it's been refined or smelted from the other metals. Because I got tons of it, but I haven't been able to go any further so far until I get a smelting machine and be able to all the chemicals I need and be able to smelt it or separate the metals with.
So it's not even a matter. It's not a matter of chemicals though, for smelting. It's not a matter of chemicals. It's a matter of heat.
No.
Heat, yeah. It's a matter of heat. So there are these things there are these ovens that are the size of probably a microwave oven. And you can get them online. And what you do is you put whatever you have in there, and it will heat it up until everything separates. And as you know, gold can take far more heat than most other elements, than many other elements.
Right.
I won't say most other, but many other. And the gold will separate, and then when you take it out of this machine, it will cool, and you can shape it. You can pour it right into an iron mold, and make whatever. Yeah. It's not difficult at all. It's just a matter of the heat. So.
Okay, I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
I need to look into that. I didn't know they had machines like that.
It's just an oven. It's an oven. It's a high intensity oven. Last time I priced one, it was about anywhere between $400 and maybe $1,200.
Okay.
Depending on which kind, But one thing I know about that too, Nobility, is just do the research. Let me just put it that way. Do the research. Because all of this that we're looking at and that we're inspired to do is much easier than even we've made it. It's much easier. And that came to my realization yesterday when I spoke to the people about will they accept gold and silver for their work and for their labor. And this is much easier. Everything that we have, but we do have to get that corporate covering. That's what all this other stuff has been about, is removing the corporate covering off of them. So there's a small machine. It's a small oven. And most people who have those types of ovens, they put them outside, like in the backyard, because they generate so much heat.
Right.
And whatever you have, whatever you have, it's safe so that outside will make it so that you're not breathing in all that stuff.
Right.
And then and so it's simple. Just get a really high intensity oven. Put the gold in there. Let me ask you something, Nobility. And this is a demonstration that I've not done yet, but at some point maybe I will. Have you tried microwaving gold? Because see, not even a microwave can get that high of heat.
Right. No, I never tried microwaving.
But don't do it if it's a microwave that you use at home regularly.
I've tried the chemicals. I tried the chemicals to separate it through the chemicals, and I took it to a certain level, and
don't worry
about it. It's a lot there, but it's a lot because they turn different colors, and you really got to. At the time, I wasn't really focusing, so I had to do it again because I think I messed up a little bit because it was just a test, but I've learned a lot.
We're supposed to do that type of testing. We're supposed to do that type of testing. Mm-hmm. Did it at any time turn black? Did the gold at any time turn black?
The chemicals turned green, and it turned green. The chemicals in it had turned green. It turned red, and then it turned green.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that's on the bottom was black. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and the black,
those colors tell you what other chemicals are basically in there. Those colors will tell you what other chemicals are in there. Gold, anytime it's in anything, it's either going to be gold or it's going to be black. And when it's black, all you have to do is let it cool, and then you clean it, and then you polish it, and it'll be gold again.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna look into this machine. I appreciate it, though. I didn't think of that.
Keep us posted on what you're doing. That's great work. Keep us posted on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and we'll share any information and knowledge that we get as we're demonstrating. We're doing a lot of the same things.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff to know what's there because when I took it to the gold exchange, I was surprised. He was like, "Where'd you get this? It's platinum. It's all this." He was finding all type of metal, but it looks the same color, But once you put the chemicals, it changes. It separates. And the colors change.
I'm surprised you could find the chemicals to do that. I'm surprised you could find the chemicals, but because it takes a certain amount of acids and things to do that.
Yeah,
and a lot of times those acids are not available right readily.
Nah, you got to order them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, keep us posted, Nobility, because we'll continue to do our research. Look for that oven though, because the oven will make it so that you don't need any chemicals to separate anything, because gold will outlast any heat that a lot of those chemicals won't last. The other elements won't last. Yeah. So
thanks.
Thank you for that, Islam. We were going to go over the 1041 and the 1041T. Has anyone on this call ever filled out a 1041 and a 1041T?
Islam, we was actually looking at those today, and we was Googling and searching them.
Yeah.
We didn't fill it out yet, but we was going over them.
Okay.
Islam. I have not filled one out myself, but I did do some research and found a filled out one from the last era.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, for an example, the strawman name and then the fiduciary, but the fiduciary was the treasury or was it the Secretary of State or some other, but it was, so I was just looking at it, I hadn't gone deeply into it, but, looking at this example from the other era and seeing where, I'm the fiduciary or we're the fiduciary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's as far as I'd gone, but I did download it and start to look.
Islam. So, in order for us to state the things we've stated and do the things we've done, we did fill out a 1041 and a 1041T. A restated one, of course. So we'll just show you what we did. Okay? Now, keep in mind as we show you this, what I said a little while ago about this stuff is a lot simpler for us than it was made out to be in the last era. This 1041 and 1041T that I'm showing here is the one that we filled out and sent notification regarding the United States for America Trust. We restated the whole thing first and the 666 trillion. Now, we did this a while ago, because we know the systems and we know what parts of the system get things going and things of that nature. The ancestors just tell us the same things they tell you all. So this 1041 title for the estate or trust is the United States for America. And you'll know what this number means. This 2025923 is, you asked, is there a copy available? This is the copy right here. Am I going to put this under the video? Let me go through it first. Before I answer that question. So, if you'll notice, there's some very key things here, some key changes that we made before we sent notification to our Treasury regarding our trust. First couple of changes that we made over here, the estate number here is the same as the bond number because we're bonding our estate and our ability to do things. These 1041s have a place for a fiduciary. All Moors are fiduciaries for the United States, for America, so all can do this. All Moors can do this with regard to the vast estate. We knew that it needed to be, not needed, that it was our will to do it regarding the 666 trillion in order to do the other things that we've been doing. So over here is another one of the major changes that we made to this document. In this
Islam, so the changes is gigantic because the document was very long. You cut out a lot of verbiage.
Because it was not necessary, because we didn't need all of that stuff. We did not need all of that stuff. Yeah.
So it went from a 4-page document to a 1.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Because look at all that applied. What type is it? It's a living estate. It's a sovereign. They didn't even have these options over there. Some of these options were not over there. Why? Because they're not sovereign. Express trust, private foundation, public trust, public foundation, private trust, other, attached written affidavit, and all other as stated by fiduciary. So,
Islam, I'm sorry. Should you also put other attached written on, and then also public record?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. And most of our documents state at the bottom, especially our affidavits, state at the bottom that all other documents on the public record by the sovereigns is a part of this. And then we attach that to this. And then the fiduciary document says something pretty similar to that. So we edited and did what applied, because a lot of that other stuff was a bunch of colorability. If this is not called a form, it's an affidavit format. Treasury, Internal Revenue, not the Internal Revenue Service. We're not even talking to them. Ancient Dominion Roman calendar year, which is the one that we just restated, actually. Thankfully, we wrote out.
Empress. Oh, yes. My goodness. So, if I may, yes. The fact that you just restated that we did the Gregorian calendar restated, right? That was so monumental as far as the Torrance law, how things are being, recorded in our system and how they're being notated there or anywhere else that we put on notice. As far as the timeline and how is that once we see that change, then we're gonna know everything is really extrally, oh my goodness,
yeah,
done, like finito, like finite, done, fiend. There's no more to concern yourself about, because to state that the first month is March,
yes,
and the 12th month is February. Come on now.
And Empress, that is because, see, that's why the ancestors were saying, write all the way out the name of the month. Write it all the way out, because all these documents are catching up with the vote we just did.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of us using 0802 2023, how they used to do that with the slashes and stuff.
Yes.
That would have thrown everything off. The ancestors said, write out the months all the way out. Don't abbreviate. Now our documentation catches up with the competent calendar.
Mm-hmm. By virtue.
Yes. Which means that the frauds that would have attempted to tax anything or question anything can't even speak, because they're not even in the right time zone.
Nope. Can't see you. You don't exist.
No, they don't exist. They don't. And see, that's our ancestors' way of letting us know they don't exist, is by having us to look at what they're existing on, what they were previously existing on. They don't exist. They were existing previously on a fraudulent calendar, on a fraudulent paper, fraudulent dates, all of that stuff. They don't exist. If their stuff doesn't line up with ours, they don't exist. Now, here, this second part, right here, part B. There's a place on that 1041 that basically asks how often you want this trust to be activated, basically. Well, we said eternally activated, and we return at will. It said, so I'm going to have to look back at it because the question was so weird. Let me pull up one of these 1041s really quickly so we can know exactly what we were looking at that had us to change the information, because it was just crazy. Let's see if we can pull one up really quickly so that we can see what that question was, because it was just crazy. Just a moment. Let's see. Okay, Form 1041 PDF. The question was, this is it right here. Check applicable boxes. Where is that? Yeah, check applicable boxes. Is this an initial return, a final return, an amended return, and net operating loss carryback, etc.? But when I saw these three, initial return, final return, amended return, I'm like, that's a spiritual question. They talk about the return of the Christ. That's a spiritual question, because these documents all started in the spirit realm first. So when I saw that question, I said, okay, we're going to state this the way that we state things. Eternally activated return at will, and it's an eternal living trust. We have the option to amend at any time, so we have amended, and then the other option stayed there. Now let me pull back on the document so you can see the whole thing. And yes, we did shorten it. And let me tell you why we shortened the document. First and foremost, we're not taxed. We're not taxed. Oh, up here, let me not skip that. Here in E, it says fiduciary is not the only entitled beneficiary for this estate and trust. Therefore, affidavit format 1041T does state all other beneficiaries and their entitlements. Again, I was still thinking about all of us, and all of us have the authority to do this, and I would encourage you to do this same thing. So the value for this estate and trust, I put 666 trillion because that's what we put on the public record for our initial return. Total deductions, expenses, allocations combined 666 trillion. If not taxed, enter not taxed entitlement code here. AAA 222141A1. And we know that is the not taxed code law that the United States for America does with regard to gold and silver and all of that. That is a code for authority that the Prophet Noble Jew Ali and Justice Noble C.M. Bay and the Moors from the 1920s and 1930s put on the public record as the not tax code. And so we've restated that code because we know over that time it was there was some attempted hypothecation, etc. If obligated to pay taxes, enter tax amount at 10% from line 1. And I probably should have put 10% here. Why? Because that's our tithe. So actually it should really say 10%. That just goes back into the coffers, so that the operations are taken care of, so that everything that has to do with operations is taken care of. Okay. Tithe goes to, for example, when you're doing work, when you're doing your public notary work, and you set your trust up to your whatever your company is, Gold and Silver Legal Services, and this is my suggestion for all of us, that we all use the same company name as we're doing legal services. If obligated to pay taxes, enter tax amount at 10% from line 1. Again, we're the only ones who have the authority to tax ourselves. And the only reason I'm putting 10% is because that 10% is going to come back to us. It is a reinvestment back into the estate. So, and we had voted on this once before. We voted on the 10%, and it was approved when we were talking about, just one moment. I know I'm missing some questions in the chat. Excuse me for missing the questions in the chat. I'm not doing that on purpose, but I'm really trying to stay on task here so that we're not here for 8 hours, because we could be. It says here, those entitled to pay taxes, state nationality status here. Nationality status is proper identification, which is the law and is mandatory for the Internal Revenue to process this affidavit and deposit money credits to stated bank account accordingly. Stated credits are deposited within 1 day, 24 hours of the Internal Revenue receiving this autographed document. That's a little quick, but you're the one doing the deposit. This $666 trillion has already been deposited in our bank. We deposited actually some years ago when we did the 666 trillion video. But we did it in the spirit realm there now, and now we're doing it in the legal system now. And then it says this creditor, estate, and trust is not entitled to pay taxes, because see, taxes is a you have to have a particular title in order for that to even be a thing. Okay, we're not entitled to pay taxes, but we can volunteer 10%. And according to the ancient laws, 10% is actually what we should be doing. But again, the language, we can change the language at any time. Islam, Empress.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I am with the language for some reason. Because as it states, we are non-taxed.
Yeah.
And then it says, if obligated to pay taxes. That's just wiggling in my whole being. It's somehow, because if you're not taxed, then how are you obligated to pay tax?
That's a great question. May I explain that?
Yes, please.
It's an oxymoron if you're talking about nationality, and that's why we said nationality status. But then when you go to the realm that's below nationality, which is commerce,
mm-hmm.
then and that's where we've been having the issues more, is the commerce part. When you're talking about that part is taxed at 10%. It's a 10% flat tax. We explained that previously, but it's important that we continue to explain that. There are Moors who are not going to be operating in commerce. They're going to live off the land. They're not going to be selling or buying anything. They're going to be enjoying their vast estate. They're going to pick from the trees. They're going to enjoy. I know a whole clan of them that's doing that very same thing. They've gone onto the land. They've cleared some land. They're going to be growing their food and their mangoes and things. They're never going to go to a grocery store. They're not going to need to go to a grocery store. They're not going to go out to market and be selling and buying things. They just want to live in peace on the land. They are not taxed, just like we're not taxed, okay? But then there are those of us who are going to be doing commerce, where we're going to operate our own grocery stores and sell sea salt and do commerce and have art galleries and then we have there's an arm of the government that must issue proper identification for those on the land. That is where the taxing comes in at.
So that's the piece, for instance, in the last era, where corporations are taxable companies, but not right. So that, and it's just, and really and truly, what it is, it's just the wording. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but so thank you. That was all. It was. I mean,
and that's why we said if obligated to pay taxes.
Yes.
See, someone who lives off the land, they won't even have an address for the Internal Revenue to send them anything.
Yeah.
They're going to be on the land, and they have every right to do that. Yeah. We were sent here to take dominion over all, of course, but also they need protection from commercial mercenaries that would have come for them. Yeah. We know the system. So we have to say, no, they're not taxed because they're not obligated. They're a part of us. And then should they choose to come into commercial venues, and listen, for me, the 10% comes into my coffers, my own coffers, because we're doing the work. And that's something we voted on about 6 months ago, I think, when we were talking about this process. When we were talking about the process of the gold, the federal, this was before we implemented the federal driver license program to start taking in gold. We said, how are we going to support what we're doing? A 10% tithe. And tithe goes to the Lord, which is all of us. So now where I am right now is I'm actually looking at what we've taken in, and I'm saying, okay, how do I pull 10% from this? Well, fortunately, some more sent some bullion, and I'm going to show this to you sometime soon. They sent little chips, gold chips. You know how carrot bars, some of you may have heard of carrot bars.
Yes.
They had this little gold chip in it. Well, some more sent that for their driver licenses, which made it easier for me to pull the 10%, which I haven't done yet. But I have to add up all the gold that we've taken in and pull 10% from it. And so no matter what that amount is, I'll be able to do that because we received so many of those. So the tithe and the taxes comes to the Lord. And then what I will do with that is our banking is already manifested. Whenever we do things like ink and paper and things of that nature, and we're quickly getting to the point where the bonds are going to be taking care of that, then the 10% will be free and clear for my household.
Yes, ma'am.
So same thing for you all. As you're doing public notary documents and court actions, you're the chief justices at your territories. You're going to be taking it, and Empress, that goes back to the question about should the gold and silver come first? Yes, it should come first, because that's actually a tithe on them too. That way they're in the trust. Because remember, it was by the fiat. Even when Moors were saying, we're not a part of that, we're not a part of that. If they exchange some fiat, those people grab their interest in it. And we're just not having that.
Islam.
Islam.
Quick question. Concerning the driver's license, for one who has no gold but silver only, what is the equivalent for the driver's license?
For that, I'll tell you, we just accepted what they gave because it was still bullion. It was still a coin. We just took whatever they gave.
I see.
That's something that the ancestors gave us the okay to just take whatever they give, because at least they weren't giving fiat.
Absolutely.
But they were still giving consideration for the work.
Thank you very much.
Islam. It's important that you be paid. Now that's where a servant is worthy of their hire. Like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. So our 1021, our 1041, this is the gist of it. This is the bottom. Tax due if no entitlement code for line 3, enter the amount owed from line 4. We said 0, but I'm going to put 10%, and then what we'll do is we'll pay the 10%, which is going to be, what's 10% of 666 trillion, y'all? And we're going to actually transfer the money on our bank rolls. And we'll actually at some point put that, well, we've already put that amount in the Treasury. We already paid it in the Treasury. We sent gold to the Treasury already. Well, we'll just say that that was our 10%. Because it was paid to the Treasury. We have the number, the tracking number for that. 10% of 606, and what will happen is, as we use the 666 trillion, let me see, 10% of that is going to be 1, 2, is 6 trillion. It's already paid. We already paid it. 6 trillion. And the overpayment is 66 trillion. Well, we already paid that. The overpayment is probably going to be the same 6 trillion. Why? Because the tithe comes back to us because we're the estate. The 6 trillion, tax due 6 trillion. Let's see. If not taxed, enter tax, not tax code here. If this can't say that. This will say something else. If oh, I get it.
Volunteering.
We are so twins. I'm telling you, we are.
Because that was the word. It was just, that's it. Just did Jonas. That's a gift, really.
Oh, remember, Empress. Thank you for saying that. Because remember, taxes were supposed to be voluntary in the first place. It says that in the IRS, quote unquote, codes.
Right.
That it was voluntary.
Voluntary. Jonas.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So I'm sure that's probably why the ancestors had us look back at this one more time with everyone present, because they received it. They got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we must gift the trust so that everything continues to happen. And this 6 trillion, again, that goes for all of us. Now, this 6 trillion is also backing your dolarium receipts, your gold receipts. because that is the trust money. But it's a gold receipt because the gold has already been paid. This is so, wow, interesting.
So this is not like going back, well, is going back to the old ways where the receipt was the money.
Yes.
And the receipt was used for the circulation for the currency. Yeah. And the gold sat there at that.
Yes. But that's because where are you going to put all the gold and silver? Where are you going to put all of that? You know? And let me say this about that too, Empress, and Morris, about the gold and silver. When the ancestors first started saying, how are you going to do this? They said,
my connection is very bad.
What did you say, Empress? What did we miss?
My connection, I've distorted, so I didn't catch anything after that.
Okay. I'll start again.
Thank you.
That you mentioned about the receipts backing the money, and the gold would be in one place specifically, and the receipts would circulate saying, hey, we have gold here, and this is one of the receipts for some of that gold. And people would accept those because they didn't, the bullion was starting to get too heavy and people didn't feel whatever, and the reason I say whatever is because when I first started doing this demonstration, there was some programming from the last era that I had to deal with. That programming it had to do with bringing gold coins in and feeling secure in doing so. This is what I have to say because I can hear the energy. I can hear the energy of some who might say that they're not going to do this because where they live is not safe and blah, 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 blah. You have to restate your address so that where you live is safe. Restate your address. Place a lien, a levy, and a bond on where you live. And the safety will be there. Why? Because then you've moved your address to ancient Morocco. So it's not even sitting in wherever. We feel confident and we know in our knower. Our ancestors said, get this work done. We said, okay, we'll do. And they promised they would protect. And then, we would feel comfortable doing what we're doing. And so far, so good. And I know that won't change. They're going to continue to protect us and all that we do.
Empress.
Yes, Islam Empress.
With that placing that one lien, levy, and bond, does that cover your name, your address, and your social security number?
If you put it in your bond, it does.
Okay. Thank you.
And the answer to that is a resounding yes, simply because all of that information is automatically contained in that bond.
Okay.
Yeah. The bond number is your state security number. Your state security number, which is, as you all know, we have properly liened, levied, and bonded and restated those things that were previously doing business as Social Security numbers. Just a moment. So, but we know that Social Security numbers are not valid. We know that. So, there's a little bit of noise coming from one of the lines.
Right.
So, do not let that stop you from doing what is your obligation or your duty to your nation, which is the work. Always let your spirit be your first authority. And then after that, your national obligation and your universal obligation to do the work. We must do the work. And now the businesses are being brought to the table. You know, the businesses are being brought to the table with regard to gold and silver, because it's that time. We've gotten to that point in the processes. The bond process is what brought the rest of that to the forefront. So, yes, 1 Timothy 5:18. Someone put that in the chat. Let me just take a look at that. So get your gold and silver up to par. Now, let me just show you also, while we're waiting for that to come up, the rest of this document. It was greatly shortened for us. We are going to send an updated version of this for notification, and we're putting that notification on the public record right now. Just one moment. Just a moment. Let me. Okay. This is the 1041. Let me correct this also. The estate is worth $666 trillion. The voluntary taxes paid is $6 trillion. And so tax due, entitlement code for line 3, enter the amount volunteered. Or donated. Actually, yes, those are donations. Right. That's a donation. From line 4. Yeah. 6 trillion donated from line 4. Or volunteered or donated. Just a moment. Do or volunteered. I keep saying donated. Donated. Okay. From $6 trillion. Overpayment is $599 trillion. Can someone do the math on that really quickly? Just one moment. Let me see. Are you? Okay. So this is what the 1099 looks like. 1041 looks like. It says state bank account number and bank routing number for money credits to be deposited. More, this is where you put the account, this restated account number for the overpayment for your 1099. 1041 rather. Can everyone hear me okay?
Islam.
Okay, I know we've gone a bit long today. Let me show you the rest of this document really quickly. It's only 1 or 2 pages. We rewrote the instruction and added. This is the 1041T. Let me show you this one really quickly. This just states the entitled beneficiaries to each titled ancient beneficiary according to their peaceful growth and contribution to this eternal empire that is without end and as intended. And of course, that's as intended by each one of us. And this is going to be the title, total amount for refund tax payments to entitled beneficiaries is 5. So again, this one is for the entire estate. This refund is what it is your Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipts. That's what this refund it is. Entitlement to living titled ancient beneficiaries, entitlement to living faithful subjects. We did include our subjects. That way they can use whatever they want to use in terms of the Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipts. They just have to get them from us, just like in the last era, we had to get them from the quote-unquote Federal Reserve. It says a universal monthly stipend to each faithful, peaceful subject according to the word from the master. And they know the scriptures behind that. And then we autographed. It says here total gold dollar amount and bank credits for entitlement refund. 599 trillion. That's 666 trillion minus the 6 trillion. So this is what our 1041 and 1041Ts look like. Are there any questions about the 1041 and the 1041T process?
Islam. So, I noticed that the information that you have stated looks like the previous document from the IRS. Internal Revenue levy.
We restate. Yes.
And then the account number. Mm-hmm. That was your USAA bank account?
Yes, that's the one that we restated.
Okay.
Yep.
Very well.
That's a good question too. Let me think about that. I'm just looking in the spirit realm. That's what the ancestor said to put on there at the time. And then let me just show you really quickly. I said I was not going to do this, but I am going to do it because I've just changed my mind. But let me have you look really quickly at what that looks like. It's not reflecting that amount right now, but it does reflect in the bank account that it's the United States Treasury, as you can see there.
OMG. Now, I have not been on that account in a very long time, but I must say it looks 1,000,000% different from when I previously was on them.
Yeah. Ours states that it's the United States Treasury, both of them.
My.
So that's why we put that there. And again, it's not yet reflecting. Remember when we showed how to upload the documents into the bank account, and everyone can do it because there's a feature on every bank account where you can upload documents. We uploaded a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The liens, the levies, everything. We still have yet to upload the bond. And that's why it's not reflecting yet what we put on the bond and what we sent to our internal revenue.
Mm-hmm.
But we already know that once we do that it's going to reflect exactly what we stated. because it's doing it now.
Of course, it says United States Treasury.
So yes, so our ancestors are showing us how to do all the things that we need to do, not need, but that we will to do for us and for our nation. Now, everyone's account can reflect that it's the United States Treasury too, I think, as fiduciaries. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge. We'll get there. Because Islam nobility. Islam.
Yeah, I was wondering, you say a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
What about those who, like, I'm at the age of 60,
mm-hmm.
and I've worked for the United States Service Corporation, did a lot of, but I never had a bank account.
How did they pay you?
How did this work?
How did they pay you?
Well, they paid me in checks. Like I've installed office furniture and things like that, and I've did a lot of things, and construction, all that, and but I never remember a bank account. I've always cashed checks.
So, for those who were what they were calling unbanked, you can state your own bank account first by proper record keeping, because that's we're doing that also. We're keeping our own records first, and then the bank account just reflect what our records tell it to reflect. So you have first-hand banking because you're the bank first and foremost anyway. So a spreadsheet with your banking information on it, and you can use your bond number as your bank account number because we had that anyway, That's how the ones in the last era were enacting pulling from it, is there was a bond and a number, a social security number, quote unquote, and they were enacting pulling from that bond every time you did something or signed for something. So you do the same thing that all of us are doing. Create a bond for you, for the name that is your tool, that your holy mother gave you, or whoever named you at birth, and they really crowned you at birth, and do a bond for that name. And when you do a bond for that name, and please nobody talk about how we're taking people's nationality, because we're not, because the nationality card is your nationality. That gives you the authority to create a bond for the name you own. So the name that you own, you create a bond for it with the state security number that you've restated. Make sure you've done a levy on that social security number, because it was fraud back in the day. And then create the bond, and that bond will be your bank account number. Okay. And listen. When you pull from your bond comes in the form of your use of Morris Sovereign Dollarium. That means your bank has issued you some money. And now what we're doing is showing that our money is actual gold receipts. It's backed by gold. Literally backed by gold. And then as you do your national duties at your territory, people are going to be bringing you gold and silver, Solomon. They're going to bring you gold and silver, and you take that into your bank, and then you can use Dollarium out in the street, so you don't have to have gold and silver on your person all the time. You see? So you're your own bank.
It's fun. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. We're the bank. We've always been the bank. And it's going to be based on the works and things that we do. Thank you, Justice Musa Jew. You're so correct. I knew somebody would get it. Thank you.
Empress?
Yes, Islam Empress.
You remember when our grandparents and parents used to tell us we were worth our weight in gold?
Yes.
Yes. Your birth weight actually signified that you were gold then when you were born.
Yes. Yes.
Islam.
Yes, indeed.
And that's in the record. That's actually in the record. I have it somewhere around here.
Yes. We're actually manifesting that.
Yes.
Islam with another question.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, the amount that you show here is great, but then all of us are doing this individually. We're not seeing what each other is doing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So do we all just start out with the 66666? True?
No.
And,
this one is done for everyone. And that's a great question. That question actually came to my mind as I was explaining this because I was asking about like our business and things of that nature. So before I go into that, let me just correct the math here. Justice Musa Jew has corrected the math. $599, $400.
400.
Yes, indeed. $599, $400.
Islam, though, for the question that was answered, isn't that also referred, is it in the language in the bond? The answer in the bond?
No.
As you stated it, that the bond is 100% the value of the bond and the bond has no limit?
Yes. When we say the bond has no limit,
not the same.
Well, you're not going to spend whatever you place on your bond. You're not going to spend that amount in 1 year. The bonds, and this is something we probably should talk about. In the last era, they were issuing bonds every 5 minutes. Or if someone was arrested, they would issue a bond then. So bonds were being issued all the time in the enactment. So how often do you, it's just how often do you plan on issuing your bond? Now, for the amounts that you, for example, when I did the bond for Pauline, the bond for Pauline Denise Ritchie is not 666 trillion. It just says it has no limit because for whatever I'm sending it out for, it doesn't have a limit. If I want to buy an airplane and the airplane is 70 million, then I can buy an airplane. I'm not going to spend 666 trillion. So I just put no limit on my individual bonds. And I would encourage you to do the same thing because for what we're doing, we want to ensure and get it in everyone's mind that we know who we are and that whatever it is, it's like it says in the Biblioteliotext. Whatever, like Mary said, at the wedding at Canaan, when Yeshua was there and they ran out of wine, and Mary was, I think, one of the ladies was sitting at Yeshua's feet, and the other one was working and working and working. And the servants came and they said, we're out of wine or whatever. There's some things we need. What Mary said to them was, whatever Yeshua says, you do it. If he says go get something, you go get it. If he says do something, go do it. So our bonds are based on that scripture and that principle that don't even think about the price. Because remember in the last era, they used to say, if you have to look at the price tag, you can't afford it. Didn't they say that last era? Yeah. If you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. So our individual bonds, and then think about how much was made off of us in the enactment last era too. So our bonds, individual bonds, no limit. I don't think any of us can spend $666 trillion competently and wisely.
No. There ain't even enough stuff here to buy. Okay.
We actually have to make stuff to even validate that.
We got to be talking about space station, stuff like that.
Made out of gold, spaceships. Exactly. So, and believe me, that's not an outlandish amount, because we're going to need, and not need, we will to use all of it. So when you do your individual 1041s and your 1041Ts, I would encourage you to put an amount. I think I put 100 million or maybe 500 million. I think I put 500 million on my let me just take a look.
Something reasonable, in other words.
Yeah, something reasonable. But for me, go ahead, no, Billy. I apologize.
You're working from the premise of, each of us was set aside 100 million to begin with. Just focus on that.
Yeah.
Because your accounting worksheets from the very beginning, if we recall, we said that we set aside for each Morris American national for
100 million.
100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started with our delirium, we should have been starting our delirium with 100 million deposit. So for the bonding purposes, a reasonable amount, 2-3 times that amount, fine, okay, from a bonding standpoint, and then your accounting worksheet needs to reflect that. That's how we keep up with this. That's my suggestion.
You know what? That is principle. Actually, I think it was 3 times the amount.
Yes.
Is what insurance is normally covers.
Yes.
3 times the amount of whatever. It's interesting that you bring that up, because even when we were issuing budgets for the cities, we were issuing it 3 times the amount of what their annual budget was.
Yes.
So
that's the answer to my question, honestly. That really is it. Now that we talk it out, and so we don't have to worry about, we're gonna mess the numbers up, or they're not gonna add up. No, just if we just use some common reasoning sense, okay, that makes some sense, like what we just stated, then we ain't got to worry about the numbers adding up per se. Because, like you said, we're not, even if all of us use that amount, we're not going to run out of the 666.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, how would we ever even know when we got to that level? You see?
We'll know because the system will tell us, because we will have. Because that's why our paperwork has to precede us.
Yes.
And so when as we continue doing this work, the system is going to respond. If at any time the system starts to question what we're doing, it'll be because we've gone over 666 trillion, and we will know that. The Spirit will tell us long in advance, because the 666 trillion is annually.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we can always issue more. That's not a problem.
Yeah. And also, yes, Empress.
And when you do the accounting, like you're always supposed to get back what you spent plus double.
Yes.
That's scriptural. That is scriptural.
Yes. We're supposed to get back 7 times and even up to 100 times back. That's in the scriptures.
Right.
And we make that happen. No one else has the access to that much resources but us.
Exactly.
So this is what our 1041 looks like. And our 1041T, this is what it looks like. I want to make sure these numbers are correct. Justice Musa Jew, the tax donated, I'm going to take the word due. I'm going to leave it there. Do I want to leave that there? No, I don't want to leave it there because it's spelled. Tax donated. Justice, is this the right amount? I think he had in the chat 10% of 666 trillion is 66 trillion 600. That's correct. Yeah, that makes sense. Just one moment.
And then, yeah, there you go. There we go.
Is that right, just Noble Phoenix?
Yes. Okay. If that is correct. Yeah.
Islam. Thank you for that. So, and then as fiduciary, I put my fiduciary state number and information down here at the bottom. And this is in honor, with honor, by my hand. I affirm that I've examined this return affidavit format, including all accompanying affidavit schedules and statements, and I know that it is truth. The Internal Revenue may discuss this return with none. We're all the Internal Revenue, so we discuss it with each other, but we don't discuss it outside of. In other words, no one outside of this body, and when I say this body, I mean the Moors, can question what we do. Because again, jurisdiction. There's only one other, and that would have been some fraud that's outside of us. So that's why that's there. Is there some better wording I could have used there? The Internal Revenue may discuss this return with none. Remember, Joshua was the son of Nun in the Biblios. That's a status statement.
Islam.
You
should have, or you could have, rather, suggestingly, the Internal Revenue may discuss this return with God.
That's saying the same thing.
I know.
What is that category number?
We put Islam, Noble Phoenix. What was that?
What is that category number? 113708. What is that?
1137.
Right there where you have the cursor, right? Affidavit.
Right
format?
here. Oh, this.
Yes, please.
So that's a format number. When the Office for Budget Management issues a form.
Oh, okay. It's related.
The forms have a category number.
Gotcha.
They have an OMB number, and then in that under that OMB number is a category number, and they use that category number both to define the form and to issue the form from a budget perspective, print it. So the government printing office will use that category number to print the form.
By the way, I have one other item to bring up regarding those who were unbanked or currently unbanked.
Yes.
For those of us who went to the POW camps and then had all your accounts closed temporarily, we just need to find the original account numbers that were open, or any previous account number that had at any banking institution, and find the routing number for that bank, as well as the account number, and restate it, have them reopen it after we do the lien levy and bonding process on the account and on that entity rather as well. Then we can reopen that account as a creditor account, which I think we've discussed that before.
Yes.
So that's another alternative, because I am going to be moving forward with that in mind, simply because my accounts were closed while I was in the POW.
Their accounts were closed while you was in the POW. Not yours. Yours are still open.
I remember that. I haven't forgotten that.
Yeah. And then our accounts issue gold receipts. So we're really doing our own banking. We really are.
I'm loving this idea you have right here.
Thank you. The ancestors gave us exactly what was necessary for us to do what we, to state our sovereign authority.
Empress.
Yes, Empress.
They were talking about discussing the account with someone else. You know, there may be a possibility, you know, the other side had all of that covered, but you had to have a power of attorney form for that person if you want them to be able to discuss your account with Internal Revenue. Because sometimes people will get disabled or whatever, or they may pass or whatever. And so we might need to restate forms to cover things of that nature.
Yes. So, Empress, at every one of us, when we do our 1041s and 1041Ts, can edit that according to our will.
Okay.
Yeah. So, some language that I would just suggest that everyone think about is that the Internal Revenue Service will discuss this document with other fiduciaries, with a like fiduciary, or with a government fiduciary, and that's all Moors. You know, anybody that would even be handling anything with a delegation of authority would have just as much information and knowledge as we have. They would actually be operating as the assist court.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, that's actually a good word to put there, Empress. Now that I think about it, you always bring such jewels to the Congress, Empress. What about if we put here, in this part right here, the Internal Revenue may discuss this return with the assist, with the assist court. The assist may discuss this return with assist. That's right, with assist. Assist.
okay.
And we all know that assist is other Moors or other us as we delegate, as we so delegate. And with regard to this document right here, anyone knowing who assist is would know automatically how to discuss this document. So this is the document that went forth, and we'll print it out and restate that, resend this, not resend because that's not the same word that I mean to use. We will send notification again regarding what's been stated with regard to this document. And wait, let me correct this right here.
I did run those numbers again, and that is correct.
Islam, thank you, nobility. Y'all, I need your help. Not need, I will to have your help. Your assistance on these documents. So we'll go ahead and send this forward again so that as we continue to demonstrate even gold receipts, that those who are not doing the, court actions and assisting at their territories, which we suggest all do, that their dolarium will work for them. Because dolarium works for everyone who has the authority to use it. And so we're getting to the point now where going out and putting things on the record, and as far as dolarium is concerned, the businesses and the enterprise and the commerce and the merchants and all of that's starting to come into view, present view, where dolarium and gold and all of that is concerned. We want to do gold and silver coinage for those who know about gold and silver coinage. But after a while, you're going to realize that dolarium is going to become more sought after than even gold and silver. Actual dolarium from one of us People are going to want that more than even gold and silver, because they can say, this is going to my great-granddaughter for her trust fund, and it won't just, like, even with gold and silver doesn't have names on it. It doesn't have names on it. But you can put a name on Moorish sovereign dollarium, and it still hold and retain its value. So as we continue to move forward in all that we're doing, know that everything that we stated is manifesting even now. The businesses are already ready to accept all that we offer. And it's not even an offer from us. Let me tell you what it is. They want us to accept their services. But there's a way for that to be done so that the system recognizes everyone and gives credit where credit is due. And that's what all of this is we're just setting it up so that credit is given where credit is due. I'm glad that you all are here. Thank you for your patience while we continue to do these congresses. Islam, is there anything further from this great and grand Congress? Anything further? Identity in the chat, is this correct? The 3 elements of an affidavit. Proper identification of the parties, which means that you're the court. You must identify yourself as the court. Cause for action, and command for immediate remedy is actually going to be statement of remedy, statement for remedy, or sentencing, or verdict, or judgment, or justice. That means you're going to be stating what the remedy is. Islam. Any other questions, comments, wisdom? Islam. With that being stated, we're right on the hour. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. We will adjourn and meet again on Sunday at 6 p.m. Islam.
Peace and grace.
Islam.
Love.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam.
Much gratitude for the erudition. Much love. Peace.
Islam. Indeed.